Is you're alive? You sure? Hey everybody, welcome to the Electrical Safety Workshop. My name is Thomas Dimitrovich, and I have with me the man, the legend, not a myth, Mark Elliott.
Thank you, Tom. It's an honor to be here with you. As you guys know, this has turned into an annual tradition.
Yes, it has.
Tom has quite the streaming audience that demanded that we continue to bring you live coverage from the Electrical Safety Workshop.
And Robert from Omaha, I see you're out there. Thank you for joining in. Hopefully others are going to filter in. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast. People are going home from work, and you're getting to participate remotely in the Eaton booth, where we are talking about
all sorts of operational excellence, safety stuff all across the board, right?
Absolutely.
It's such a great portfolio of things. It's actually hard to kind of pinpoint what we want to talk about. What we really try to focus in these days is the operational excellence piece of it.
Ah, okay. Yep. So now I right behind you is a 40 cal outfit. So I mean, this is new for Eaton,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So getting into personal protective equipment, all that jazz is completely a new area, but very complementary.
Very much
to our solutions. But when you think about this booth, I see we've got a lot of hardware. We've got a disconnect switch. We've got the arc reduction maintenance switch, talking about 24087, 24067.
Right.
Let me ask you an off-the-wall question.
I like it.
This is totally unrehearsed. In this booth, what do you think is your favorite product or favorite solution that you could?
That's not fair, because I love all of them. And I represent all of them.
Not a good question. Not a good answer.
Question. There's no such thing as a good answer to that. I guess, to be funny about it, I like the Tom Dimitrovich show, frankly.
Oh man, I'm
the
feeling
knowledge
the love.
and the weight of the discussion is so good. Well, I tell you what, a lot of great stuff that we're presenting, but kind of what's really cool on the edge of verging this whole IoT digitalization world and operational safety and even NFPA 70B, it's kind of all that convergence is our electrical safety training.
Oh, yes.
And we've been doing training for a long time, right? And
yep.
There's always nuances to make it cooler, better, new things that we learn about. But in this case, we have a virtual simulation Oculus headset.
It's an Oculus headset. I played with it. No, I was learning on it last night. Okay, and I'll tell you what, I love the experience. You put that headset on, and we had a lineup of medium voltage and low voltage gear. You had to open the door. I could remove a fuse, put a fuse in. I can charge a circuit breaker and then discharge and close a circuit breaker. So there's so many cool things that Oculus, and you know what I like about it too? It's new technology.
It's new technology.
The young, people our age did not grow up in that environment, right? So the young engineers coming into the industry today, I think they expect and demand technology like that to help them grow into the marketplace.
I do too, and I think it's even as we as a culture and industry grow, that we understand that different learning techniques are important to be relevant. And so you complement that with paper, you complement that with in-class, you complement that with what feels like on-the-job training in a real environment.
Right.
And you can touch all the bases of the learning elements of your employees. And frankly, when you get to the Oculus headset, it's to your point, it's fun. Right? So training can be a drag at the point, right? It cannot be so exciting.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. When training is fun, you'll absorb it.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Just think about music. I know I can relate. We were talking yesterday. We were down in the lobby, and we were reciting verses from movies and all that stuff. Do them. Remember? So we were doing all of the different movies and reciting quotes from movies,
right?
Because we enjoyed the movie, and then we remember it better, right?
Absolutely.
So there's so much to be said about when you're enjoying something, you're having fun.
Right, and you add that physical element of it.
Yes.
That now I'm actually, because I think everybody would be aware, but right, when you have an Oculus when you got a VR headset on, right, you're in that space.
Oh, absolutely. You're immersed in it.
You're immersed in it. Right?
Yeah.
So you're living in that space, and now you're physically making those motions and you're making another connection to how memories are stored.
That is so true.
Right.
Now, the other complement, now, education and training, right? Wait, first of all, I got to, we got Robert from Omaha. We have Steve Cavaleris from New York. Welcome to the program, Steve. Robert, great to see us. Now tell me, Robert and Steve and anybody else out there, how's the audio? I need to know the audio. I need to know the video. Is it a good quality? Can you hear us? I mean, it is so noisy in this room right now. It is a mess. It's unbelievable. So please let me know how the audio is, Robert. I know you'll be honest. So, but training. Wow, I know 70B recently went from a you could, you should, you might want to think about to a standard.
Right.
And we are here we don't just deliver big gray boxes. We deliver education and knowledge as well. Our engineering services division.
Absolutely. I think it's more and more of interest to our customers and even our own four walls,
right,
that to understand how things work, what those strategies look like on how you get the longest life and safety out of those, which go hand in hand, right?
Yep.
As product starts to fail, deteriorate, which it happens in many different environmental reasons, that turns into a safety hazard. The more educated I am on that, the safer the environment I can make.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And a part of NFPA 70E is education.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've got an Oculus. I know we have educational services, and that's part of that whole process. What else we got in the booth?
There's a lot that ties into that NFPA 70B story, which
maintenance,
for example,
yep,
right? So, just to have that maintenance program in place can be very tough. And to your point of going from a should, could, best practice idea to a shall is intimidating for lots of us, including Eaton, right? We're continuing down that path of continuous improvement just the same. So we're not alone in that. And so we not only live it, but we have people that specialize in now, how do I create that program around my maintenance programming? And that's going to be training, as well as it's going to be hardware, software, as well as how do I just organize it?
So another big area of that, and I know AJ Johnson is here, and AJ is moving on to NFPA 70B. Okay, so he took it upon himself in one of our own facilities to take a look at our own maintenance programs and say, are we doing the right things? Are we up to par with what NFPA 70B has to offer? And one of the critical things that he's identified, when you take an existing facility, you need to understand how you're going to approach your development of your maintenance program.
Absolutely.
You just don't say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go in today and we're going to do a maintenance program.
We're going to start a program.
Yeah, no. You need to ascertain the condition of all the electrical equipment. You need to, the other thing that he really focused on is prioritization.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you prioritize your resources.
You have to.
Yeah, and you, like if that was energized, we're sitting right next to a switch, right? If that was energized and it was in very poor condition, and it was in this area, general public area, I'm not probably going to give that a higher priority than something that's in a back room and nobody is around, right? Just because of the human nature of the interaction. So there's a lot of opportunity in existing facilities, and I think it's important that we as an industry, as owners, operators, to look at ourselves before you even start to say, how do I sell a solution to someone?
Agreed. I think that you touched on a good point there of prioritization and cost points, and those go hand in hand. None of us, Eaton or other, the folks we work with, have unlimited resources to go do this new requirement.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now,
right.
We've all been doing it in different levels, successfully or less successfully, maybe that we like. But the fact is, that's extra time, extra effort, extra cost. So to your point, that's not only living it as well, but now we have folks that specialize in helping create that program for you, because it's not monitoring everything. It's not exactly. There should be some sort of cycles of when you get through things, and it's not necessarily anymore after it has an issue or once a year kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
The other things I like in it too, that I don't know if you made that analogy before, but these days, when you get your oil changed, when you do that.
Oh yeah, like say every 3,000 miles.
Every 3,000 miles, or 5,000, whatever.
And we all know those numbers.
Right. Is that right?
That's a
It may
good
not
point.
be, right? So why not have my engine can actually tell me, hey, you're actually now in a state where I need, and that might be 2,000 because of the
Oh, you're absolutely
harsh and
right.
heavy environment you're in, or the type of, or it might be 6,000.
No, you're absolutely right.
Right?
You're absolutely, continuous monitoring.
Absolutely, right.
And
So-
you know, in 70B, we added language to recognize the fact that if you have continuous monitoring, if I could tell you that the humidity in that box has been very high, outside of your tolerance levels, the temperature in that box has been changing drastically.
Yep.
You may say, you know what? All of a sudden, the priority for that box just went up.
Absolutely, and I think that's why we have a digital footprint here as well to talk about that tie-in.
What's the digital footprint?
Well, we call it bright layer, as you well know.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes. So,
Yes.
and the point of a bright layer system, which those that may not know, it's an IIoT system, right? So
Yeah.
it's how do I get intelligence out of my existing assets, and it could be electrical, could be non-electrical, right? And that's high level kind of language
Okay,
there, right?
so you're saying that our bright layer application can bring in electrical and non-electrical?
Right. You know, it's nothing new that electrical power management systems aren't new. I mean, we started
Yeah.
even before your time, right? But
Oh, yeah.
it's been
Oh, yeah.
40 plus years we've been doing that.
Yeah.
I think one of the nuances we're seeing now is the ability to collect more data, and it could be electrical or non-electrical
Yeah.
assets, as well,
Yeah.
as well as it could be, you know, how do I present that data?
Oh,
What do
yeah.
I do with it and crunch it and present it out to people versus just lots of charts? What
Absolutely.
I need is insights to say you are now out of tolerance or you're trending,
Yeah.
and it's not somebody that they can't do that, but you don't need a data analyst to sit in front of that data all day long and then go back and try to research it, right?
Okay, so when do you think, in your opinion, when do you think artificial intelligence is going to marry with that whole bright layer aspect to say, hey, I think based upon what I've learned, you need to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, that's where it's going, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact is because it's artificial intelligence, we get better collectively because we are on that journey together.
Yeah.
No one manufacturer, no one end user is going to have that platform. It's
yeah,
going to be
you're right.
learning for all of us, and the fact is we're each going to present it differently, and our platform is ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, even when you look at the Eaton portfolio, we have infrastructure that's a lot of things we make that are non-electrical.
Right.
Right, so it's we already have some ideas of how you pull those items together. And
true.
some of our early success stories with customers, believe it or not, were around humidity and temperature
That's right.
monitoring, not necessarily electrical. Which they can go hand in hand, but not always.
Right.
Right.
And then you add on top of that type of data, the fact that we can take a circuit breaker and tell you the condition of that breaker. How many times did it interrupt a short circuit, an overload? How many times has it been turned on and off? You know, all of those different things. How many times did you get some sort of alarm out of it? That's just all data that you need for the bigger picture.
Yeah, yeah. And that goes back to, I think, to me anyway, especially Eaton being an automotive company early on, right? To go back to that car oil change thing, right? Do I change a breaker, repair it, fix it, swap it out when it finally fails?
Right,
I can. Or do I have some sort of active insight to say, hey, here's where you're trending. Let's try it. And we've talked about predictive diagnostics for as long as I've been in the industry, which is longer than I want to talk about, but not as long as some. So that's hard to get to, but the fact is tools like this get us further down that road.
Right.
The more we work on it together and we add AI to it, the better we'll all be collectively. We're on that
absolutely.
journey with everybody.
It has to be an organized, focused, and reviewed approach to AI, because you know, if you don't manage it correctly, you can get yourself in trouble.
Absolutely.
So you want to make sure that whatever you're relying on, and if it's us, if it's like say a manufacturer like Eaton, employing the artificial intelligence to look at our equipment, we're giving it the brain power to get you in the right direction.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
And
I like it.
And I think what we want to get to is being able to not just send flags and notifications that are important. And there's lots of cool ways that I can put that in my hand
Right.
versus on a screen.
Yep.
And different layers of that, whether it's through the cloud or an on-prem.
Right.
But now we can start to do conditional based information on that.
Yeah.
So now it rolls, and that's where the AI plays it. It's like, well, an hour ago was like this, but by the way, my process changed. It started raining. I changed from product A to product B. You know, the power from the utility had a dip or a swell.
Right.
Well, in traditional ways of monitoring, you couldn't capture anything with that really that you could proactively. Now I have condition-based capabilities with things like Bright Layer.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole different ballgame on how I can actively monitor my system.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so we got Bright Layer.
Yeah.
We have the Oculus. We've got our training, our services around 70B. Both of our 70B representatives are here.
Got some nuts and bolts here with our Busman offer.
What else? Oh, the Busman offering.
Yeah.
So what's Busman got going on? I know they got the PPE, but what else?
They have PPE, right? And what's interesting is that Busman line, if you haven't looked at it, is pretty robust. I mean, that's a 100-year-old product line as well.
Sure.
Itself, right?
Oh yeah.
And that whole business, we combined the Kraus-Heinz and B-Light and enclosures and all sorts of cool stuff. And now as they head further down that path into safety, they also have lockout tagout systems.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's right. You know, I completely forgot about that. You're right. They have the PPE layer, and then you have the lockout tagout aspect, which is all 70E related. So Busman is really more than just an overcurrent protective device, which provides a lot of safety value.
Absolutely.
They're positioning themselves in the marketplace as a safety provider, really.
Absolutely.
It's not just about an overcurrent device.
Right. And the point when you look at that Eaton portflash, as Busman even pulls theirs together, hey, you can see how a lockout tagout system connects to which level of hard flash suit do I need to wear, what kind of fuses do I have in my panel, and by the way, am I monitoring those fuses to give some sort of indication of the status change between last time you were on shift and I came on shift.
Right.
A breaker blew, a fuse popped, you know, something changed, and I don't really see it.
Okay, hold on.
Go ahead.
Fuses open. Okay.
Getting some colloquialism in there to that, huh? See, that's why I hang out with Tom, because get the lingo.
I love it. So I always try to, when you have people, they'll say, "Oh, the fuse blew or the fuse popped," you know, and I would say that, and I would get corrected all the time. Oh no, Tom.
Stop cutting off the lights too, right?
Open.
Don't cut off the lights either.
Yeah.
Maybe. Unless you're in the South, we'll cut off the lights anyway.
And you know what else I say too? So Busman has the 40 cal outfit, right? But I said, look, what the Busman Group really is trying to do is put themselves out of business, because if you properly apply a fuse, you're going to be in daily wear, not a 40 cal outfit.
That's right.
You know, if you think about it, you properly apply. It's like the fastest solution in the industry today. Not that in the future you might see something faster, but right now, that current limiting nature of a fuse, the lack of contacts having to separate, the mechanical nature of the overcurrent device, the fact that it's an element that poof, opens, it's so fast, and it's based on physics. You apply that thing correctly, and you're in daily wear. You're in gloves, eyes, right? There's no balaclava involved. There's no 40 cal outfit. So I always say, you know, the Busman guys, whoever's in charge of that one product line, they're fighting the other product line because they're trying to get put out of business.
Well, and to that point, right? So as we see that technology and learning across the portfolio, even we're sitting right here next to an enclosed breaker, enclosed switch.
Yeah.
What have we? It's just an enclosed breaker or switch. There can't be any danger there, right? Oh my goodness, how many times are those open?
Right. Oh yeah.
Or maybe at the wrong time.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. 70B has infrared IR scanning requirements. Okay, so you're supposed to check your terminations annually via an IR scan. So if you don't have the IR windows strategically placed on the door, which our group down in Tennessee, Cleveland, Tennessee, they would be more than happy to put those IR windows in those strategic places to facilitate not having to open that door. That is something that we will do. We'll paint it whatever color you want to paint it too, right?
And sometimes that's a red or yellow.
Absolutely right.
There's a safety concern about that application.
Absolutely right. I've seen them painted to blend in. I've seen them painted to stick out, you know? So you have to open that door, and you're going to have to put that switch into the open position, off position, to get the door open because of all the interlocks, right?
Yep.
But in that whole process, and you're thinking in your mind, I have to verify absence of voltage, so you're still dressed, and your incident energy is going to be high. Could be very high.
Could be.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Could be. And so I think that's what's interesting is the technology of the arc reduction maintenance switch working its way into this level of the electrical infrastructure.
So now the code in 24067, which 24067 applies to fuses, okay? The way the language is written today, it's 1200 amps and above.
Right.
But that does not mean you're limited to only applying it at 1200 amps and above. You can apply that at 800 amps and at any value lower than 1200 amps.
And I think that's where it goes back to, Tom, as we talked about early on, of knowing what's important to my infrastructure. Because it could be the 400 amp switch, frankly, that's open and closed most often. It's in a dangerous environment. We know it's connected to certain equipment that might have some sort of higher incident energy. There could be that issue. It's not necessarily the 1200 amp one. That's the monster big guy.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yeah, because it's not current dependent. It's not the it's current dependent and time, but it's the short circuit current that's available, not the rating of the switch.
Right, not the actual
Ampere rating.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have an 800 amp switch, I could have higher incident energy on that 800 amp switch than I have on the 1200 amp switch, just because of its proximity and what the actual available fault current is at that location.
And that's what we're trying to together with a story here, Tom. You do a great job of pulling that together. But that's that OpEx story. If I go back to our services group,
right,
when we're talking about those studies and the tie-in with 70B, which means I'm probably going to have to, or more likely, get in and out of this equipment more often. So one is about the protection piece of it and the plan, but the other part is, hey, did I do a study to even understand really where my incident energy is at each of these points? Because I may or may not identify this as an important element or not.
Yeah.
And that's, you walk through that, hey, let's right size the plan and the cost to it, right? Be smart about it.
Absolutely right. Now, I'm going to look. I got Robert from Omaha says the first thing is to educate people on 70B. Look at that. People don't know what they don't. Oh, there's a statement. People don't know what they don't know. It is so true. And I say that about like educating on, I can be qualified to drive a car, but not qualified to drive an 18-wheel truck, right?
Very true.
So, and I get into the truck and I can say, well, I can see the issues. The truck is large, I've got to maneuver, and then I get it on the road thinking that I know what I'm doing because I'm going down the highway. But the moment I get into a situation, the person who's qualified will know, hey, when you make this turn here, it's a little different than that turn there.
That's right.
So that awareness, every bit of training that we do on a receptacle, on a switch, on panel board, switchboard, switchgear, every single piece of education you get is in alignment with 70E for safe work practices, because you're raising awareness on the hazards associated with that equipment.
And that's even if you're using an Eaton transmission on that big 18-wheeler, by the way. Lots of cool stuff that we won't get into here.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool to go down the rat hole if anybody's interested. But that, to the point, Tom, that's one of the reasons why we love being at this show, which we didn't talk about before, but Eaton's been involved since its inception, 1991.
Well, that's right.
So we've been here, a mainstay. I would say it's actually hard to track how many people because we have here, because there's so many in the booth, but there's others that just simply join in because it's the right.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm going to guess we have 20 people here.
I would,
certainly 12 to 15 that are actively engaged in presenting and being part of our booth.
Yeah, in fact, in my tutorial, Nihad Al-Sharif and I did a tutorial on Tuesday morning, 4 hours. We went around the room and introduced everybody, and Mr. Engel was there from Eaton, and I had another individual from Eaton. And you know, honestly, I knew the names, but I didn't, I looked and I didn't recognize the faces, right?
Yeah.
So, and then when I hear Eaton, I was like, wow. Okay, here's two Eaton people we're in, right?
And I've known Brian Engel for a long time, and I would seriously put him as one of the experts in the field for what he does. But the fact is, he's here because it's not just him sharing, it's him learning.
Oh, absolutely.
And what I love about this booth and this show is that I continue to learn on both sides. I guarantee every time there's a question that someone brings forward that I hadn't thought all the way through, that maybe there's an Eaton expert on it, maybe there's not, but it's a great thought-sharing environment, and that's
and you know what? We're all here under the same umbrella of safety. You know, we're here with our competitors, we're here with our customers, and we're all talking about the same thing. You shed a lot of the competitiveness and whatnot when you're talking about a common goal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So if we can increase safety in the electrical industry, everybody wins.
We all win.
There are owners at this event. There are contractors at this event. There are installers at this event, maintainers, testing laboratories. I just saw Underwriters Laboratory had Dr. Braces was here. I saw him earlier today. There's so many people here from across the entire industry. It's great networking, but we're all here for one goal.
Yes.
And it's to increase safety.
Yeah, it's really a great environment. I think it's, as you can't see it from there, but you know, for a typical trade show, the excitement, activity, engagement around this moment is indicative of the passion a lot of these people have for what they do.
Oh, absolutely
Right.
right.
It's
Absolutely
really
right.
cool.
Yeah, and then so they gave us this cool background. Robert, I don't know if you saw this here, but this is
Upgrade.
This is an
Continuous
upgrade.
improvement.
Yes, it
right
is
here.
continuous improvement. We got better lighting this time. We've got a better camera. We've got good audio, hopefully. Well, we have a lot of individuals inside this booth talking to customers, talking about Eaton solutions. And this is when things get commercial. That's the other thing.
Right.
When you think about this event, there is no commercialization on stage. There's no commercialization in presentations and educational material. But when we get in this booth, we're here talking about Eaton's solutions and how we are changing the electrical industry from new technologies such as the Oculus and practical application. We've got AJ here and others who are involved with codes and standards, answering questions.
Yep.
We've got the experts from each of the product lines. There's just so much, there's so many individuals at these events that if you're missing it, you're at home. We're trying to bring, that's the other reason we're doing this. We're trying to bring this event to the industry when you're not able to be here. And my hope is that you might say, you know what, this event really looks like the cat's meow. Looks like I need this as a part of my career, as my continued development, and we're going to see you here next year, right?
Yes.
We had a record year, for the U.S. at least. We had a record year this year.
That's great. I think that's a sign of, you know, everybody embracing not just, you know, the codes and standards moving forward, but our ability to embrace them, understand them, and share and learn from them.
Oh, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So, and there is one time that I think a product.
Hey, look at this. I'm going to
Let's
make
see,
a sign.
right here.
I'm doing an autograph, and I don't have a pen. Joe. Here we go. Watch
You
this.
sign that.
We're live. If you want to go live.
Joe, come on in. Sure.
Yeah, we're live, buddy. Look at this.
This is part of the engagement, which is so great,
is
right? The
part of the
engagement is
solution.
ongoing.
And I'll tell you what's going on. Guys like Joe Ratchford from eHazard and others who are participants in this group, they walk around from booth to booth and they get signatures. Now, Joe, do you win something off of those? If you get them all signed. If he gets them all signed, he wins $400. It's a raffle. So his name gets in the raffle, and he shows evidence that he was at each of the booths. Somebody signs for it, and you know, I understand why you reached out to me and to Mark Elliott, yeah, because he knows us very well, and very instrumental person in the electrical safety workshop as well. So VIPs, there's a lot of people. How many years have you been coming to this workshop? How many years?
Want me to get in here?
Yeah, can you?
come on in.
Sure. Here, wait, let me get
My chair, if you like. And Joe, you're presenting too. Let's talk about what you're presenting. Have a seat with.
Tomorrow night.
Have a seat.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about that for a second. Tom, you want to have the interview chair over here? Team? Team the team, okay?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. How many years have you been coming to the electrical safety workshop?
This will be my 24th.
24 years.
Representing probably 15 of them.
15 years of presenting, 24 years, and you've been on the organizing committees and
Up until last year.
up until last year. Very heavily involved with the whole process and the whole. There we go. There we go. And I'm gonna sit over here, okay?
All right.
So, we were just talking about how everybody here is interested in electrical safety. everybody wants to focus on, they're all under one common umbrella of trying to drive electrical safety work practices. And whether we're competitors in the marketplace, whether we're duking it out in the market, trying to get market share and all this other good stuff, we come into this arena when we're doing presentations. There's no commercialization, there's no selling of a product. We're all engineers and installers, scientists, doctors, educators, trying to educate. I mean, it just keeps me coming back.
When I was working for the steel company, the way I justified coming here, I said, if I come back with one or two ideas,
Yeah.
I can implement it. It'll more than pay for the cost of the trip.
Absolutely. And those ideas might not even be a product, right? It could just be a way of teaching or a way of doing something different.
How to communicate, how to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
I got hooked on the first year of being here.
No, I'm the same way. I am the same way. Because and there's the whole what we're doing here, just communicating with each other, talking to each other, enjoying a beverage, dinner, connecting, and then I think more happens outside of that room in knowledge sharing than inside the room, but there's a lot of opportunities.
I didn't even know about this place until 2001.
Oh, really?
And I came to the steel plant in Kentucky. 7 weeks. First 7 weeks.
Yeah.
There were 6 near-miss incidents.
Really?
That must have changed in circumstance with 6 fatalities.
Wow.
So I went to our president. I said, look, I've got 30 years of experience. This place is out of control.
Yeah.
Let me put together a safety program. And so he said, well, how long you need? I said, 8 hours.
Wow.
He just looked at me and said, no way in hell are you going to entertain electricians for 8 hours on safety.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so we put the first class on. He let me do that.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then I get a phone call. Joe, get over to my office right now. It was mean.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah.
And I called my wife. I think I'm getting fired. I don't know what the hell is going on here. So I get over at his office, and he goes, what in the hell did you teach those guys?
Yeah.
And he was still being mean.
Yeah.
I said, lockout, tag out, PPE, procedures.
Right.
Did I do something wrong? And then he backs down. He says, no. He said, but let me tell you what happened. He says, I was out of town for 3 days after that first class.
Right.
When I come back in, every one of those 12 guys in that class was standing there at my doorway waiting for me.
Wow.
He says, Don, that's the best damn training you've ever
No
given.
kidding. Wow.
So, when you have a class experimental, what do you got to do? Everybody thinks about what? Lunch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Have a good lunch. So I had pizza. Everybody loves pizza.
Absolutely.
So he says, not only are you going to teach all 500 of our employees, you're going to teach all 300 of all the on-site contractors.
Wow.
Do you know how many pizza lunches I had to eat for the next 2.5
How much weight did you gain?
Oh my God, I couldn't even look at a pizza. But that was the beginning of us becoming compliant.
Yeah.
With 70E, and then I heard about this thing, so I got my safety director. We come in and give our first paper down in Dallas about how we converted from non-compliant to compliant with 70E.
That's amazing.
That was the beginning of my career in safety.
And then what happens too, like you said, you go back to your company, you bring back those nuggets, right? You educate, and sometimes if you're in a position where you can educate others, like the workers on a plant floor or whatever, that's great. But sometimes we're educating senior leadership to say, this is what I've learned, this is our exposure, risk, likelihood, and severity. This is our likelihood. I gained enough information to say we need to be thinking about this. You may not have the solution right off the bat, but then if you can influence your organization to say, we need to bring some experts together within our company to look at our processes, because we have statistics, we have the establishment of likelihood. Let's start worrying about how we can reduce the likelihood and possibly reduce severity. It's just magical when everything
Top
comes
management
together.
is the hardest one to sell.
Yes.
All they see is a dollar.
Oh, absolutely.
You want $5,000 for what?
Yeah.
That's all they think.
So I talked to an electrical contractor who was had a very well-funded safety program. Okay, he still does. He's very successful. And I asked him. I said, "How are you so successful? How do you get your organization to just give you the resources from a safety perspective. He's an electrical contractor. And he goes, he says, Tom, he says, it's something you have to remember. You have to talk two ways. He goes, when I talk to my guys and gals in the field, I tell them about getting home, about providing a livelihood for their family, about being able to lift that wrench or turn that screw or pull that wire and be able to make a living. He goes, but when I talk to senior leadership, I'm talking about lost time. I'm talking about how many OSHA violations and fines that we either avoided, right? Because we were able to address the issue before it became an OSHA violation.
Big ones don't happen.
That's exactly right. You get all those little ones, the big ones don't happen. And he tracks it, so he communicates one way down to all of his people, but when he communicates over here to his leadership, it's about financial return, it's about I'm protecting the business, we're going to stay profitable, and I'm keeping you out of trouble.
One of the most interesting effects of safety that I've had in my career was we bought, when I got there, we're racking, manual.
Yeah.
So I got 3 vendors in, we looked at remote racking tools. I let the guys pick it. Here, they picked this one.
Yep.
So I bought one. It was $50,000 investment. I had to go to confession all the way up to to spend $50,000.
Yeah.
And then I let them use it. I said, give me some feedback.
Sure.
We had 6 substations. We bought one. My technician designed, called a wheelchair handicap rack for the back of the truck. You just pull this thing up on it and drive off and go to the other.
Right.
3 months later, every one of these electricians are in my office. Joe, we need to get 5 more of these racking tools.
Yeah.
I said, guys, that's a $50,000 piece of equipment. You're talking about $250,000. That's more than my entire budget.
Right.
See what you can do for us. Okay. So I called the president.
Yeah.
Can I come talk to you? He said, yeah, come on over. I said, remember that racking tool a couple months ago you let me buy? It was outside my budget plan. Yeah, I meant to ask you, how's that thing working? And he says, I told him, too good. He says, what do you mean? He says, the guys want me to buy 5 more of them.
Oh my.
And he goes, well, buy the damn thing.
No kidding.
3-minute conversation.
Wow.
I said, Don, it's $250,000.
He says, buy him.
I don't care. I said, but I got to answer to the CFO. And he said, he works for me. You just put the order in and it'll go through.
Wow.
That message spread through that entire plant.
Wow.
Our OSHA incident rate was 5.2. Within 2 years, it was under 1.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because the electricians sang like canaries about what the president supported on safety.
Oh my goodness, that is such a huge message when it comes from the top down. And it's not, okay, it's not about an email telling people we're committed to safety. It's not about a video saying we're committed to safety. When you put your money where your mouth's at and you give your individuals, your employees, the resources, that speaks volumes. Oh, yeah.
150 electricians sang like canaries throughout that entire plant.
Yeah. Oh, that is so.
3-minute conversation. I could not believe it.
Yeah, that's.
And he gave me the authorization to spend $250,000.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it's been a.
So why don't you tell everybody you're Joe Ratchford, you work for eHazard.
Joe Ratchford with eHazard. I've had a 50-year career in steelmaking. I finished up at what was Newport, became Newport last year.
Okay.
And got tired of it. I started working at age 17 in Armville in Middleton.
Oh, wow.
And then I come up to 67 and I told my wife, that's 50 years.
Done.
I'm done with steelmaking. And I bet you had
Oh, yeah.
Hugh Hoagland.
Yeah. You have.
He came up to me in 2010. He says, you ever get more of that steel plant, buddy, you call me. I got a job.
Wow, that's
I retired August the 1st. I called him August the 2nd. By August the 3rd, I'm on the road training.
That's awesome. So you do training.
Yeah.
You do training.
Training, audits.
Oh, audits. What kind of audits? Safety audits?
Safety audits.
Okay.
I got one coming up here maybe in May or June with the state of Kentucky.
Oh, excellent.
Their transportation. I did them 3 years ago and they called me, want to do another one.
Yeah. Well, you must have done something good. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Drive around the state of Kentucky.
Man.
They've got
Now, okay, hold on. Do you hit the bourbons?
not a non-bourbon guy.
Okay. See, I would never survive.
Kentucky. I was born in Kentucky. And I told my wife, and I did that job 3 years ago, I said, oh my God. I did not know how beautiful the state of Kentucky
It
is.
sure is.
So after I finished that job, we had to go to 12 different places in the boondocks.
Yeah.
I took her back to all those places.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just gorgeous.
Beautiful. We live in a beautiful country. Amen.
All right.
Hey, thank
Good
you.
talking to you,
Joe.
buddy.
I appreciate all you do, buddy.
I'll give you
You
mine.
got to clip it. I'll clip it off for you. There we go. Beautiful.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Take care. Enjoy the show. All right, that was Joe Ratchford. We lassoed him into sitting down and talking. And Mark Elliott, why don't you let me take a look at what?
We're getting another guest here soon.
We're getting another guest
keep
here.
the seat warm. Rachel, come on up.
Oh, do I have a cue card for Rachel?
I will give it to you.
Yes. All right. So they're gonna get me a cue card, hopefully. Robert from Omaha, business need. No education is available readily through personal construction instructions. Perfect. You guys are leading by example, a true inspiration. Hey, Robert, thank you. The lake background was pleasant. Tom, a shout out to Joe at E Hazard. Keep your excellent work, Joe. Excellent. Hey there.
Hi,
Carrie.
Rachel.
Rachel. Why did she give me? I was like, you don't look like Carrie to me. Carrie's over there.
No, I'm standing in for Carrie.
Okay. Oh, you're standing in for Carrie. Okay, but you're still talking bright layer. Beautiful. Well, why don't you tell everybody, we have 4.5 million viewers out there right now. Yeah, so why don't you tell them who you are?
Hello, I'm Rachel Ellerton. I am the product manager for Bright Layer Industrial. So I do the digital side of Eaton, specifically on manufacturing.
The digital side of Eaton. You're taking us digital. Oh my goodness.
Kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming. I love it. I love it. So where are you out of again?
Based on Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Ah, well, Milwaukee. Okay, so Bright Layer. Now, I know Bright Layer. I know enough to be dangerous on Bright Layer. So back in the day, I used to do the communication hardware and software for Eaton, which was like Wonderware and Iconics and things like that. Bright Layer's a little different, or is it an HMI? Is it, tell me more about Bright Layer.
A blanket term for basically all of our digital solutions, and we do have digital hardware. So you see a lot of our assemblies that have a digital interface. Bright Layer really kicks in when you're looking at the system level, the site level, the enterprise level. So we're looking at pulling a lot of data together, a lot of context, a lot of really great information, a little bit higher than just the gear.
Okay, so you bring it all together, and how do you present that to the end user?
A couple of different options. Some of them are very segment focused, where I live and breathe every day. I have Asset Performance Manager, APM, which is an on-premise solution that provides lots of really good data for context if you want that.
Okay.
And then remote monitoring is more of our lighter, cloud-based, out-of-the-box, really similar to a lot of the apps you have on your phone. Really easy to use, light touch. That one offers a lot of really great things like text alerts and things like that to let you know how your gear is doing.
Oh wait, so the first one, asset performance management. Okay, so so here's my thought process. So asset performance. So asset. When I think of an asset, I'm thinking your electrical distribution, or is it beyond just electrical?
It can do electrical, but it can also do more because we know things like environmental factors can really impact your production for industries.
Okay.
Yeah, really impact your microphone use. Things like humidity and temperature can really impact your electrical gear, which can in turn really impact your production or your data center. So we monitor things like humidity, temperature, a lot of things like that too. So we're spreading out beyond just electrical gear into some of the things that can impact it.
Okay, so maintenance. I can use Bright Layer information to help me determine when I was just talking to Mark about determining your like sense of urgency. What equipment do I work on before other equipment, right? So prioritization. I can use data from your Bright Layer system, which is bringing back in temperature, humidity, all of these things as data points for me to determine when I need to pull maintenance on, say, a disconnect switch or a motor control center.
Definitely, yeah. And 70B requires you to have a maintenance plan, and in many cases, those are based on manufacturer instructions. Like, so every year you need to do this, every 5 years you need to do that.
Yes.
But now, if you add in a bright layer type system that monitors your equipment, you
Yes.
have the ability to extend those maintenance windows safely. So
Yeah.
not only
Or
just
tighten them
extending
up. Or tighten them up.
Yep. If you're seeing that things are alerting, and that's one great thing about the bright layer industrial suite where I live, is that remote monitoring can give you basic alerts before things fail.
Right.
APM can give you complex alerts. So if this, and this are true, I'll give you an alert. So it filters out some of that alarm noise. So not only can you can prioritize smartly.
Okay, so now it can do some thinking for me. Okay.
That's where we're going. And
Yeah.
as you start thinking about analytics and prediction, we're hoping to make it much, much easier to predict for you, because a lot of our customers in industrial have a one-day window, maybe a month, to maintain thousands of pieces of equipment. They can't do everything.
Now, would you qualify that? And another discussion I had with Mark Elliott.
Yeah.
Would you qualify that or some level of what you're doing as artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence is a loaded term, but I think it's only as smart as your experience with equipment, what you've seen
Right.
as far as monitoring. A lot of our industrial customers are still living in the clipboard, dry erase board world. So the first step to get them to artificial intelligence is that digital intelligence. So we got to get them into bright layer. We got to get them learning. We got to learn from their data and live along with them. But we are looking at ways to predict, look
Right.
at ways that we can prioritize, look at ways we can suggest when to seek help and how to get it.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing in some of the other solutions you've been talking to.
You know, okay, I'm going to tell you an experience I had at my house.
Okay.
My wife and I are watching TV, and Alexa dings, which means something's up, right? So I asked her, I said, what's the notification? And you know what she told me? My ink in my printer is low, and do I want to order new ink? I mean, you can imagine if we did something like that for our electrical distribution system to say, have an alert come up and say, what's the notification? Hey, you know, the temperature in your motor control center is about 10 degrees more, and it's been that way for the last 4 days, and you've had one event, and 3 times the door's been opened and closed. Oh my gosh, that's just loaded.
Yeah. And then in electrical terms, we have a ton of experience testing our gear. We know how to strike test it. We know when it fails. We have all that data. So when we bring that to bear with our artificial intelligence, hopefully we can give you an idea of when things might be acting strangely,
Right.
or if we're seeing indications that they might fail. And that's kind of the prediction that I alluded to. So we're getting there.
And that is primordial. So I saw email, text, and app alerts.
Yep. So one of the great things that we can do is I've talked with a lot of our industrial customers, and they find out that their plant is down because it fails and someone calls them at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
By adding those advanced alerts, hopefully I hear about it before I go home for the day. But even if I don't, I can be alerted automatically from the app. And I don't even need to have the app open. I don't even need to be logged in ever. And I can
Wow.
still get those email, text alerts. I can get them in the app too. But if I don't live in that on a daily basis, and a lot of people don't, you can still get notified and you can tap on that alert, access the system, find out all the information that you need.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
things that we talk about is that with maintenance, well-maintained equipment is safer equipment. And with this digital solution, I can go in there, see that alert, see if the electrical behavior of that unit is what I'm expecting, so that my PPE is appropriate, so that I'm not walking in expecting some situation that's not there.
Oh my goodness, that is so true. Because now, so part of 70E is the pre-job planning. So you could sit down, open up your phone and say, all right, we're going to be working on, I don't know, switch XYZ. We're going to be opening it. Let's take a look at what events have I had in the past, because in 70B, to ascertain the condition of maintenance, we have a condition 1, 2, and 3. 1 is like it's new. 2 is, and what we do is we say if you've had so many different types of events, and 3 is like, hey, if you've had more than this type of event, or you have one unresolved event, Bright Layer can help me in that process to determine the condition of maintenance. That is one of the hardest jobs for our electrical workers.
All that data is at your fingertips. And you can export it if you need to, so you can prove your compliance after the fact.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, that is cool. So I saw you have remote monitoring. Now, when you say remote monitoring, what am I monitoring?
Yeah, that's the risk of having products that are named descriptively.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I say remote monitoring, that is actually actually a product we offer, but it does do just that. It monitors remotely. So with remote monitoring, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on your iPad. We have that in our booth.
Is that like if I want to know how much watts I'm pulling?
Yeah, we can monitor pretty much anything related to your electrical equipment. So you can go in there, you can see all that data, you can see trend charts, you can trend points together, so you can see context a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff in there. If you're looking for real in-depth analysis, though, you want to see one lines, you want to see wave charts, that's where APM comes in.
APM.
Yeah, asset performance unit.
Okay, all right. I'm going to remember these acronyms. I love it. I love it. Now, let me ask, do we layer, from an Eaton perspective, we have the best engineers in the world in our engineering services division, group, product line, I don't know what you want to call them. Team. Yes. And do we marry our bright layer information with their services?
Yes, and we definitely should. That's one of the things Eaton is known for, is taking care of our customers. And so we can have our service team come out and take care of that basic level of 70B of creating a plan for you, doing those ARC tests, doing all those things that require you to kind of get that baseline. And then they can come out and put a bright layer solution on top and help you through how you can extend or shorten up your maintenance based on what bright layer can do for you. And if you have a problem, they're there to help you. That's the thing about digital solutions I always hear. You're going to put it on my site and then you're going to walk away, right?
No.
We're not going to do that.
Our name is on the, well, okay. Hey, so let me ask you a question. Is it just our products that we monitor, or can I talk to other people's products?
You can talk to other people's products. So right now we have a library of integrations to other products that we can do, and we can build new ones. So as we work with new customers, we're continuously building up that library.
You can make it client specific. So if we had a customer, if one of these people walking around this facility, and there are a lot of owners and there are a lot of people in the right positions in this meeting, or at this event, if one of them came over and said, hey, you know, I have XYZ products in my plan, which you don't make. We would love that service. We love the bright layer aspect. I would love to get somebody from Eaton out of my facility to talk about bringing all that together and provide that value. We would be able to do that.
Yeah, we can look at building that integration. We can look at bringing in partners. The goal is to have our customers be successful. And for me, it's to keep our customers producing whatever it is they sell. Corn, cards, whatever.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And that's truly, man, I just got goosebumps. Oh, man. I did. I really did. I'm like, that is so true. You know, and that's something, you know, when I was in the consulting business and I would call my manufacturer for help, if I didn't have their product, it was like, I don't want to help you. Good luck. But from an Eaton perspective, we have a different culture in our organization because we put our customers first. And I understand, and I know other people in our organization understand. If I can help a customer be successful in the future, when they have that opportunity to say, you know, I need to buy a new piece of equipment, I'm going to consider Eaton because those people have helped me more than others have in the industry, and I'm more successful because of their assistance. And that's the real value of our engineering services division.
I agree, and that's the digital mindset, which the services division definitely embodies, as is my team.
A digital mindset?
Yeah, nobody's going to be all Eaton, and who's going to win this game is who can integrate everything together and get you an interface that helps you do what you need to do.
Where can I get my digital mindset t-shirt? She's got one. I love
Make it together. You can sell it on your channel.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. I could pay for the camera. It's perfect. All right, we talked about digital monitoring and BLI. Bright layer industrial.
Yeah.
Industrial. What else what are we missing? We talked about.
I don't think we're missing anything. I think that about covered it. But I would say that, you know, the bright layer family can serve a lot of different customers, not just industrial. So I want to make sure that everyone's aware of that, right? We've got wonderful solutions that are targeted to data centers, to lots of other types of customers, and they're all coming from the same sort of software suite. So we're leveraging those efficiencies internally and also hopefully delivering a lot of consistency externally. Because a lot of customers have mixed use sites, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking to a customer who has a big data center, they might also have a manufacturing space, they might also have office space. So we're really keeping a look at things and trying to look at ways that we can consolidate our offerings so that you, as the highest level person in that org, aren't looking at 3 different interfaces, you're only looking at one. So we're always looking for opportunities to do that.
That is now I'm going to take a look. Hold on. You guys are Leading by example, take the background, the H.F. Hutton principle, one customer at a time. E.F. Hutton, E.F. Hutton. And when Eaton speaks, people listen. I love it. The mic needs to be closer to the, okay, we got that.
Got that taken care of.
All right, we got that taken care of. Perfect. I was just making sure there were any questions coming in on the live stream. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming in, Rachel. Or no, Kelly. Carrie.
BLI. BLI.
BLI.
Yeah.
Thank
It's good
you.
talking to you.
Perfect. All right, we got AJ coming in. We're going to change mics. Now, AJ Johnson is our guy on 70B. He's replacing me on 70B. It is about time. Oh my goodness.
You're a little overcommitted.
I was a little overcommitted. Welcome, AJ.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, buddy. I tell you what, this is awesome. The last time, I'm glad we're sitting down, because the last time we were both standing, and he towers over me. Okay.
The seat is the equalizer.
The seat is the equalizer. All right, AJ, tell us who you are and what you do, and then we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 70B a little bit, right?
Yep.
All right.
So I'm Austin Johnson. I go by AJ. I'm the product manager for low voltage assemblies here within Eaton. So a lot of my job is to go out and understand what are some of the pain points out in the industry and figure out, how can we create solutions for them. So, it was, I guess, back in 2022, I got to sit in on some of the working group meetings for 70B.
Right.
It's like, there's a lot of opportunity for here, especially with where things are. A lot of companies are winding up with aging workforces, so we're going to see probably a lot of good maintenance personnel retiring over the next decade. And 70B certainly is making things easier in terms of the amount of work that's out there.
Sure.
So the thought process, at least in my head, was, okay, how do we help? How can we be consistent? How can we help educate? And that's really what I'm here for today. Is I've got my paper that's on Friday, and we're trying to go through some real world examples of NFPA 70B, how you go through setting up a maintenance plan, even if you already have one.
Okay, so I was talking to Mark Elliott, and I was telling him about there are people in your life you meet that are rock stars. This is a rock star. So I'm telling you. So what impressed me was you took the bull by the horns with regard to maintenance. In one of our facilities, you're looking at all of our electrical distribution equipment, and you're coming up with a process to say, how do I take this new standard and implement it in an existing facility? And you're building the tools, and more importantly, the knowledge, the pitfalls, what to avoid, because you're going into the pitfalls, right? You're stepping in the potholes and going, okay, we don't want to do that. This is what we need to do. So you're establishing and working through what others in our industry are going to be doing in the future, or probably should be doing right now.
Yeah. So the idea was, we're going to talk the talk, but you need to be able to walk the walk.
Yes.
And so no better way to do it than to get your hands dirty and actually dive into it. So yes, even though I'm marketing, I do actually like to learn and get into the technical side of things. And that's part of what I try to focus on is
Absolutely right.
what are going to be the actual things that people out in the field are going to be experiencing, and making sure I can communicate to them, here's the importance, here's some of the things you may run into, and here's how you kind of hedge against them.
Right. So you're when is 70B first draft meetings? You're going to be there, right? I mean, I don't know that your name has been put on the list yet, right?
Yeah, that won't happen until April, but I will be at the meeting next week.
It's next week.
It is next week.
It's so 70B Orlando on I believe next week is maybe the beginning or the middle of spring break.
Thankfully, I don't think many kids spring break in Orlando. I think most of them are going down to Miami, but we should be okay.
All right.
Airports might be full though.
Oh yeah, they will be.
Especially in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh man. So 70B, you're moving on to 70B. You're going to bring that knowledge to the committee and that experience, and that's when I look at like just me on that committee. I think you are definitely the better fit because you are much closer to actual implementation. And that committee moving forward, because it's a standard, is going to need more and more of that type of knowledge and experience at the table.
And it's definitely been eye-opening in terms of just, I would say, how much much there is out there that has to be done.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found out with our facility, so our facility specifically that we were working on, they had a lot in terms of mechanical maintenance, a lot of brake presses and punches and stuff like that. They made sure they maintained really well.
Right.
But then I went to the electrical side, there was 2 generators, a transformer, and maybe 1 piece of switchgear that they were looking at. When I got done doing our full inventory, we had 5 items. We should have had 2,572 items.
Wow.
And I think that is one of the biggest pieces. I think people underestimate just the scope of what falls into electrical maintenance.
Yeah.
And just hoping to help people make sure they understand that's a system improvement. It's
Yep.
not going to get all done in 1 year. And ideally, they're going to put a process in place. They can build themselves over time.
Right.
And just be consistently getting better. Because ultimately, that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Reducing the chances for someone to get injured.
Oh my gosh, and I always tell people 70B, 70E, and the National Electrical Code, the trilogy from a safe installation and over its lifetime, really. So Robert from Omaha says he still towers over you, Tom, even sitting down. Oh my God.
All right, we'll get a smaller stool for me next time.
Yeah, we're gonna either that or I'm gonna have to get a cheat seat.
A booster seat.
I'm gonna get a booster seat and I'll steal it from the next restaurant I go to. I'll just tell them I have a kid with me. So you're here talking about, so Scott Scott's moving up to principal.
Yep.
You're going to be alternate on 70B. First draft meeting is next week in Orlando. Task group work is behind us. I mean, how up are you on, do you know of any, can you give us any little sneak peek on what are the significant items that you're thinking about as you go down there? Is there anything on your mind?
I think one of the biggest pieces, it was outlined a little bit already, the ability to do continuous systems and being able to use that as a way of kind of displacing a set routine. And I think a lot of folks already see the value of that because, for instance, if you look at something like continuous thermal monitoring versus
Right.
traditional IR scan, a lot of times when you're talking about heating issues, those are things that can be intermittent.
Right.
You may not necessarily catch it when you're out there doing your monthly scan, whatever you have it set up to be. So the idea is, okay, how do we get more of that involved in making sure we've got at least the placeholders for it to allow for it as they get developed over the next 5-10 years.
Right.
And the other piece is making sure that some of the nuances that can come up with different pieces of equipment capture. As an example, one of the things that I saw was particularly like resistant gear. One of the things for circuit breakers, you have to make sure the bellows are properly seated across it before you get it, otherwise it might update your rating.
Right.
But that wasn't really noted anywhere. So making sure small things like that get captured in notes that aren't specific to any one manufacturer, but are still something important that need to be checked as you're going through some of this.
Well, absolutely right. So now we're trying to get in through some of the details, so to speak.
Yeah, and also, there's some of those reserved chapters. As we talk about some of this, what some of those end up shaping up to be. One of the things that came out of one of the sessions I got to participate in was, right now we have kind of motor control centers and motor control equipment kind of all lumped into one.
Yeah.
And as an offspin of that was, okay, do we need to have some separate controls altogether? So when you talk ATS very much has a set thing in terms of controls, but if you talk a parallel scheme, where do we talk about that? Yes, we have some mentions of it in individual sections, but we don't really have the full walkthrough of all the things you should validate. So
Right.
like at a healthcare facility where you've got to have NFPA 99 requirements for genset to be able to come up to speed, take over. How do you test out that control set? Because that's not an ATS piece of equipment. That is bringing up specifically a main tie generator stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's something to do, I think.
Yeah. And you've modified your product lines, maintenance manuals and installation manuals, right?
Yes, so we tried to modify them to align to NFPA 70 tables. To one, reduce the amount of upfront reading that has to be due to the paragraphs to try to find the information that's there in a nice, neat format. And the idea is, people will be familiar with 70B, should make it easier then for our products, and encouraging other product lines to do a similar manner, so that way it becomes a very consistent feel. Hoping, as the industry looks more at this, we'll see that shift across the board. So it's less homework that people have to do just to understand, like, what do I need to do for this piece of equipment?
Right.
Ultimately, manufacturer's instructions are what should be taken precedent.
Yep. And your instructions are mirroring the requirements that are in 70B in a format perspective.
Yep. And trying to show, like, okay, this is part of your mechanical inspection. This is part
Visual.
of your electrical.
Yeah. So you got visual, mechanical, electrical, cleaning.
Sometimes lubrication.
And, yeah, lubrication. I think that's it. Was there one more?
I feel like there's one more, but it's not necessarily for all the pieces of equipment.
Yeah. But what's nice about the way they laid it out is each of the chapters for the equipment have an article or a section on each of those areas, like visual, and then that requirement there for visual inspection that's in that chapter, say for motor control center or low voltage assembly, there is a table up above in chapter 9 or what? No, chapter 8. Which chapter has the table? One of the chapters has the table in there for frequency.
Yeah, chapter 9.
Chapter 9. So chapter 9 has your frequency, so it's laid out with the same sections that are in the details for that chapter.
Yeah. And chapter 9 is a lot more. I'm hoping there will be a little bit more elaboration, because getting to see how things happen between 2022 versus what was actually accomplished.
Right.
You know, one of the things that did get kind of pulled back a little bit was the criticality and like the environmental. And I think there's a way to actually add some more defined requirements for that, where there's a precise way to go about it versus just arbitrary, decision based. So one of the things I think with criticality that'll be important is influencing downtime, because that's something that a lot of people understand the pain points of.
Sure.
And you talk about criticality right now, it's more the safety aspect, which is always important. But the other piece is, okay, you've got to be able to switch. That switch feeds your entire factory.
Yeah.
If you don't have redundancy built in, that is a very piece of critical equipment.
Oh, absolutely.
You go down,
Yeah.
everything goes down. So that's one of those areas that I talk about in the paper. That's one that you should start evaluating. Do you need to have redundancy built in? Where are those important areas? Because that could also help you, not just from a safety perspective, and making sure you always have equipment that works, but also keep things up and running.
So you're delivering a paper? Oh my gosh, tell me about this paper that you're delivering.
So it was a joint effort with our friends from DuPont. Because I wanted to take, doing my project with our local site that's kind of going from the ground up. I want to see what's something that's already out there that already does a lot of best practices.
Right.
And let's scrutinize it and see if we can find anything. And we did find some. We walked through it. There's a lot of things that did well that I took personally. Like, okay, these are probably some best practices. And there's some other pieces that kind of were some surprises. Like, okay, there's definitely some gaps. One of which is making sure you've got an actual fully written plan that covers all your facilities. I think that's one thing that people may kind of overlook, is part of this is having a defined plan, who owns things, and where to find information.
Right. Okay, so how many people are on the paper? You?
4 people.
Four of you.
Yeah, it's myself, Scott Brady, Sharon Mullen from DuPont, and then Paul Sullivan.
Oh, Paul Sullivan too. Oh, excellent. Wow, when do you deliver that, tomorrow? Or no, you do.
No, we're the last paper of the show. We delivered at
The
11
last
o'clock
paper
Friday.
on Friday. Wow. And then it's probably a race to the airport.
It is.
Wow.
I have an Uber scheduled 15 minutes after the paper's supposed to end.
Oh my goodness. All right, let me check. Hold on. So boots on the ground and head in the clouds. Would like to get contact info for your replacement on 70B, Annex B on instructions, Annex B on 2019. So Robert from Omaha wants your contact information, and Robert, we'll make sure we do that. I'll get them connected. Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can share and continue to share your knowledge. It's beautiful.
And one of the things I'll toss out there, the learning experience I've gone through writing this paper, along with one good local site. I've got a course that I've put together material for, and I've submitted for accreditation. So I will have like a PDH.
You have a course?
That I'll be able to.
OMG. Man, I told you, the guy's a rock star. So you've got a course, you've updated all of your instructions for your product line, you've developed a maintenance plan and continue to lead a team to get that done within our facility. You wrote a paper, and you're on 70B. If that's not a resume for success, I don't know what is. I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here, Tom, and for giving up your seat on 70 people.
Well, I would do that. I told you in a heartbeat. I mean, here's the thing: is you know, when you recognize, and this is what our industry needs, the passion for that topic. That's not your job. You know, that's the thing. You don't understand what this guy does. What he's doing with the plant, leading that effort, what he's doing on 70B is not his day. It's not your I'll say it, it's not your 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. job, right?
Yeah, that's not what I'm getting paid for.
That's exactly right. It's volunteering to share your knowledge and improve the electrical industry. And I will gladly give up my seat on any committee for people that are willing to do that. Absolutely right. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, AJ. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah, who am I handing off to next?
Oh, I'm not sure. One of them should help you. Set the microphone here so it doesn't get all clobbered up there. All right, so thank you. All right, everybody, we're going to be online. Needs to get on 70p. Robert, yeah, I'm going to pull that committee together. I'm always in the spotlight. I can't avoid it, you know? So what we're going to do is we're going to be live for, let's see, what time is it now? It is, what time is it? It's 4:15 Mountain Time. We are going to be live for another almost an hour, and we're going to get some more people in the booth and talk about overcurrent. Are you next? We got Joe Shoemaker coming in. We got Joe Shoemaker coming over. And Joe Shoemaker is another rock star. This guy's probably forgotten more about stuff. Oh, and look at this. All right, so this is the man. This is the man, the legend in his own mind. So let's bring that higher. Oh. Yeah, bring it up higher because, yeah, well, you know what to do is put it on the center. Yeah, that's probably better because it'll be your fabric.
All right.
That's perfect. Joseph Shoemaker, thank you for joining in. Now, you need to tell everybody out there who you are, and please include your committee work on the National Electrical Code.
My name is Joe Shoemaker. I'm the manager for field application engineering for the Busman division of Eaton. I'm a voting member on Code Making Panel 11 and an alternate member on Code Making Panel 9, which covers, 11 covers mostly motors and motor application HVAC, and now Panel 9 is covering a lot of medium voltage.
Right. So again, so you were down, were you there for 2 weeks at?
I was only there for one, which was enough because I did not expect it to be a high of 25 degrees in Charleston, South Carolina when I went down there, but that's what we had to live with at the time.
It was a little chilly. So I always associate Busman with, obviously, fuses. I mean, everybody knows Busman has fuses, and I made this statement earlier, tell me if I'm right or wrong. In my opinion, the fuse is the fastest acting overcurrent device on the market today.
Yes, so that's where Busman has been involved in electrical safety. You know, we started to get, I would say, heavily involved in the mid-90s and worked with the IEEE when they were doing some of the initial stage tests for arc flash to really study that. And, you know, we found what we expected, that current limitation can really help to reduce the amount of incident energy. And where fuses do really well is when you have applications with high fault current.
Yep.
It's really the best way from an overcurrent protective standpoint to help to try to lower that and limit the amount of incident energy.
So in my tutorial, one of my discussion points was around, my tutorial on Tuesday was around the trade-offs of goals and objectives, right? One of the aspects that we talked about was selective coordination. Now, selective coordination, in many cases, especially if I'm applying a circuit breaker, not so much, I'll say that, not so much on a fuse perspective, but on the circuit breaker side of our family, we have increased incident energy because I'm putting intentional delays in my power distribution system, right? Now we have solutions. We have the arc reduction maintenance switch, we have zone selective interlocking. The value that I see as a design engineer, as a power systems engineer with my background, when I apply fuses at a 2-to-1 ratio, I'm probably buying them because I have high fault currents to begin with. The arcing currents are probably going to be in the current limiting region of that fuse. So when I get my selective coordination by maintaining a 2-to-1 ratio, I have a 20 amp fuse, I go to a 40 amp and above. Say I put a 100 amp fuse, so it's a 100 amp panel board or a 200 amp panel board. I have selective coordination. That 200 amp fuse probably crosses 0.01 seconds around 2,000 amps. So my fault currents are going to be high, probably because that's why I'm doing a fuse, and my arcing currents are going to be in the current limiting region of that fuse.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily, I can kill both birds or break 2 windows with 1 stone
Right. And
with that overcurrent device.
you bring up a great point because you do have to consider, because a lot of times we have selective coordination requirements in the code, not for electrical safety, but for life safety.
Exactly.
Because emergency systems, you want the lights to be on, especially buildings sort of like this one full of people. You want to help to get them safely out of the building in the case of an emergency.
Yep.
So we have requirements in the code for selective coordination that have nothing to do with electrical safety.
Yep.
And that is the nice thing about fuses is there's no trade-off. The operating principle, simple thermal devices, we don't have adjustable settings and things like that. If you design in that 2-to-1 ratio, you can achieve both electrical safety and life safety with selective coordination with no trade-off.
Absolutely right. And then when you're applying all of your equipment, because and so it's the other complication. This is the issue. Applying and creating a power distribution system for reliability, whether it be for selective coordination, for arc flash reduction, you want to limit your equipment damage, you have short circuit current ratings you've got to think about. When you're applying an overcurrent device where you're not intentionally moving it around because your fault current is higher, right? You're maintaining the 2-to-1 ratio, you're achieving that selective coordination, you're reducing the incident energy, and you're protecting your equipment with the right short circuit current rating because you're at those high bolted fault current values, which is what we use to evaluate a short circuit current rating on a piece of equipment. You're there, right? Because you've got the current limiting nature. So I can honestly say, and I will be truthful, before we acquired Cooper, we argued and we debated, but now we have it's just a little, but we have now what is very comforting. It's a very good place to be is I don't have to care about the solution you put in. Right? Because it doesn't hurt any one of our businesses. It brings the right solution to the end user, and you're just keeping everybody happy.
Yeah.
So current limiting, right? So I know current limiting fuse is something you've got going on. Now, the other product that I used to despise and now I love is the cube fuse.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a sweet product. And we doing another, are we doing, what do we, so I know we expanded the solutions there.
Yep.
Did we or did we not? What's going on with the cube fuse?
Yeah. So the cube fuse, for anybody that doesn't know, it's a pretty revolutionary fuse and switch with a compact circuit protector. It's a finger-safe device. So it's not like open type switches. We made switches that were much smaller and they're finger-safe. So it really boils down to when you look at how do you control electrical safety, and the hierarchy of controls is design out the hazard first.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're really trying to do with current limitation and finger-safe devices, because you really lessen the chance of something happening when you have all finger-safe. If you drop a tool or something, it's not going to come into contact with energized parts. If your hand's in there, you're not going to come into contact with energized parts. So you really reduce the likelihood of occurrence.
Oh, there's that word, likelihood and severity. So the fuses do a great job at reducing severity, but you can also reduce the likelihood because you're replacing fuses with the dead front on.
Yes, and that's
huge.
Everything that we've developed over the past probably 15 years, we have kind of 3 basic pillars. We want safety, so things like finger-safe products, current limitation, code compliance, which also facilitates safety, and then space savings, because we all have less real estate to work with, and we're putting more electricity in places where it wasn't before.
Yep.
So those are kind of our three major pillars that we're trying to address with our.
And to go along with that, we got PPE guy here, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in the PPE world, but you're also in another very important function or tool that the electricians out there have for establishing an electrically safe work condition. And what is that?
So that's where we previously stopped at the design and ahead of time. And recently we've gotten into the PPE. And then we looked at how people are working on equipment. And we, like most people in the industry, are encouraging people to establish an electrically safe work condition. So we recently launched our lockout tagout product, and really we're just have a product, a full line of lockout tagout products now. But we're really getting into helping customers comply with, okay, are they applying everything properly? Are they applying locks? When they're done, are they removing locks? Are they wearing the appropriate PPE? And we're developing products now and tools that we'll be launching soon over the next couple of years to really help people along that path. And again, the idea we want to get people is making it as easy as possible to establish that electrically safe work condition.
Absolutely.
And you need PPE while you're doing it.
Yes.
You need the locks while you're doing it. And so that's where we're going.
Yeah, so now you have the you get your water too. So you have a lockout tagout, and here's, like, somebody asked me about personal protective equipment. They were like, "Oh, you guys are into PPE now?" I'm like, absolutely. You're buying our equipment. You're buying switchgear, switchboards, panel boards. You're buying fuses. You're buying breakers. What better way than to lump some of the things that you probably would have a hard time getting after the fact right into the process? So now you sit down and say, hey, I'm buying a switchboard from Eaton and I want to expand, or maybe I don't have a lockout tagout program. Maybe it's a brand new facility and you go, I don't have any of that equipment. Put that right into your main order. That would be sweet. It's a cat's meow.
Yeah, and that's what we still, we still meet with a lot of customers that are on all different parts of their kind of safety journey. And we still meet people at the very beginning. We have a lot of tools that can help them out. We can help people doing arc flash studies with our services group. We can help them do training.
Yeah.
And now we can help them actually outfit their people and get the right equipment for their people to make their people safe.
Absolutely. It's all about safety. It's all about keeping people outside of the arc flash zone. And if you're in the arc flash boundary, you bring the severity down.
Yeah, and it's very natural for Eaton because we know as employees of Eaton, we have a very,
Oh, yes.
a very safety conscious culture.
Absolutely
And
right.
everybody should go home at the end of the day the way they started the day. And so we take that culture that we have internally and we want to help other people achieve that same.
Absolutely right. And honestly, being in the booth like this with me is a hazardous location. I'm telling you. Don't you think?
Yeah, no.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you what, there are so many people here, and there are so many people in this booth. It is amazing. So what kind of questions are you getting in the booth?
Well, a lot of people, they just want to know what's new. That's why they're here. Most of the people here are very far along in their safety journey. They know quite a bit, and
That's
they're
true.
always looking for the next thing, the next step. How do I make the system safer? What do you have to offer? Recently, and fuses don't cover every part of protection. So with our safety switch group developing the arc energy reduction switch, where fuses aren't.
Oh,
in that
yeah.
range. So they want to know about that stuff. What do you have new? What's interesting?
Oh yeah, that's right. So another big question on everybody's mind is 24067. How am I going to meet that with fuses? Now I know just because, and you know this too, by looking at the size of the fuse, right, and the curve. As you go lower, that curve is moving further to the left on the time current characteristic curve, and your fault currents are higher. So your need for employing an arc reduction technology for, say, a 1200 amp fuse at 480 volts is
Probably not often.
Probably not often, if at all, ever, right? Just because of the nature of what is the arcing current in the relationship. And 24067 says it has to clear within 0.07 seconds, right? It's those big, larger fuses. But I always say, you may not employ a product like what's here for the arc reduction maintenance switch on a fusible switch, or this is a circuit breaker switch, let's say a fusible disconnect switch. You may not employ that to meet a code requirement, but you may elect to employ it anyway because that arc reduction maintenance switch will help you down further in the system.
Yes.
So whether you have a circuit breaker in a box like what we have here in the booth or a fusible disconnect switch, it's not about the fault current right there at the switch. It's about further down in the system and being able to provide safety for someone working on maybe an industrial control panel.
Right, or a 200 amp panel board where they don't think there's a hazard, but it's fed by a 4,000 amp switchboard.
Exactly right. So you turn something on and you can provide that arc reduction downstream. So, and we go down further and further in these systems, right? So our ability to provide these types of technologies is just growing even in the fuse industry, especially at Eaton.
And also to help with that compliance, we deal with digital tools. I think you are the one that really developed the digital tool that we have that evaluates whether or not you need that per the code requirement. So you just put in your bolted fault current. We do the calculations per 1584, and then it'll tell you whether the fuse is going to clear that fast.
Yes. Excellent. And you know who just walked over? Jay Prigmore. Jay is the chair. He is the chair of the current electrical safety freaking workshop. Yeah. Do you want to come on over? Come on over. Let's do a switch.
All right, we're going to switch it out. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Jay Prigmore.
I've been wanting to go just like that, right?
Up high, up high.
Up high up here,
Yeah. All right. Oh my gosh.
like that. Or
We are lucky and honored to have this guy. I see you on stage. You're working hard up there.
I know. A lot of things going on all at once. It's very dynamic.
It is. Why don't you tell everybody? We've got now 4,563 viewers. So why don't you tell all of those 4 million viewers who you are and what you do for this group?
Yeah. So my name is Jay Prigmore. I am the chair of the ESW 2024 conference here in Tucson, Arizona. And basically, I run the show.
He does.
Everyone comes to me to their problems. Everyone comes to me with their suggestions, and I ignore all of them.
You do not. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
So my goal or my objective is to make sure the presentations run on time.
Yep.
And I have to police that a lot. And then just basically make on-the-fly decisions on if I let people ask questions or don't ask questions.
Yeah. So you led a team of individuals. You met monthly. When did you start meeting to start preparing for this meeting?
So last year at the ESW in Reno in 2023, the goal for the incoming chair is to develop their own organizing committee, which is what the committee that puts on the workshop. And so basically I had to find my organizing committee a year prior, and then once we finished last year, every month since then we had a meeting
Every month.
and until January. And in January it became twice a month.
Yeah, because there's so many things that have to come together. You've got an individual in charge of getting the vendors.
Yeah.
You've got an individual in charge of trying to get donations and all that other good stuff. So if you're out there and you're a manufacturer or you provide services, you should be here. If what you're doing in the industry is for safety, we should have them here, right?
And the expo is my favorite part of the workshop. I used to exhibit here both as a manufacturer and as a consulting.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I don't do it anymore. Now I kind of help put it together, but
Sure.
my old company is actually here at this exhibit or at this expo, and I was the first one that expoed here.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think? How many people we have?
We have 574 attendees, 216 first-time attendees.
Wow, 216
Yep.
first-time attendees.
With 18 different countries represented.
So I'm going to tell you something. I did a tutorial with Nihad on Tuesday,
Yeah.
which was the kickoff, right? So we were in the morning. So I asked everybody in my class, how many of you are first-time attendees? Many hands went up, and you know what I had to do? I had to apologize to them
Yeah.
because they started their entire first ESW in my tutorial. I told them they will never get another tutorial as good as mine.
Nah. Well, you also got Nihad there too, so
That's exactly right. That was the thing. We had both of us.
you got the two rock stars.
We had the two rock stars, you know. So, and I know you're doing a tutorial too. But you know, I just want to let you know, there's going to be a lot of, you know, if anybody in your tutorial went to mine too, I don't know what to tell you.
They're gonna choose mine because I've had 4 days to market my tutorial.
You know what? That's right. I saw you on stage. This guy was like, oh, okay, everybody, the best tutorial is my tutorial.
That's right.
What do you do in your tutorial on?
Mine's on an incident investigation and the legal process that may occur afterward. So say you have an arc flash or an electrocution or just an equipment that blows up or an equipment that misoperates somehow.
Sure.
How do you go about establishing a safe work condition? How do you go about containment? How do you go about analyzing the data and gathering the data?
Oh yeah.
How do you do evidence preservation?
That's right.
In case it goes to the legal system, and then what is the legal system process? And what are the terms? What are the limits? What are the the rules? And basically, why do you do things you're supposed to do?
That's a very good.
Yeah, it's very contradictory to many operations,
Sure.
where you want to get up as fast as possible. But if you do that, you may destroy evidence that could hurt you or your company in the future,
or the person who was injured.
or the investigation
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah,
In the future. So
that's true.
there's some other things going on that people need to be aware of.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever seen a paper like that presented here, but that I know we all talk about it.
Which is why my tutorial's the best.
There's Nihad, he says his tutorial is the best. Yes, he says his tutorial is the best. No, his. But that's okay. That's okay. So you have a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
You're guiding the whole program together. You brought us to this moment where we are. I like the way you put it. This is the most attendance from a U.S. perspective, because I know there's debate.
There's some contention.
There's some contention.
A few people from Canada.
Yeah.
So what happened there was, I think it was 2006 or something in Calgary.
Calgary.
The chair of the ESW, and there was a second electrical safety conference going on at the same time, or like the week after, or they overlap somehow. And so instead of having ESW and that one, they just combined it into one.
Oh, wow.
So there was a couple hundred extra attendees
Nice.
that attended. So if you subtract that, that was only 450. So then this year's higher
Okay,
attendance.
so
It's a little bit of gray area right
a
there.
little bit of a gray area, but that's great. It's a very successful meeting. You're doing a bang-up job. So,
Thanks. Yeah, I was really excited to hear the keynote speaker as well.
Oh, yes.
She gave a fantastic presentation that I think really resonated with many
what was
people.
her name again?
Anita, Arab.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
She is with, is it Google? No.
She's retired now,
She's retired.
but she was with Google, and prior to that, she was with mining companies, and
Yeah.
spent many different industries.
Her experience of being in other different countries at the wrong times. I mean, being in a country, going through bombing and going through the turning over of governments, all that stuff.
All the gunfire.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, she lived in many different countries. I think she might have been to more countries than the country attendees we have here this year.
That's insane.
Like it was crazy.
How many different countries are here at the
18.
18 different countries are present within this event. Wow, that is significant. That's
And
significant.
I got some really great feedback on the student posters as well.
Oh yeah.
So not only did they cover some, shock and arc flash, there was 4 or 5 posters that had very different topics that we usually don't present here.
Yeah.
Like geomagnetic storms, and wildfire risk. And it was really cool to see the students talk about that. And I had a lot of attendees come to me saying this was the best student session they've ever been to.
Now, he's talking, so you mentioned poster board sessions. So what we do, in case somebody out there doesn't know how we operate here, we have the main room where we have papers and presentations being delivered. And then it's, today's Wednesday, so Tuesday night we have paper. So these are those that aren't presenting on stage, but we have a board. It's like a pegboard or whatever. We have a sheet,
whiteboard, right?
like a whiteboard, yep. And it has an overview of the paper that they wrote, and they stand in front of that, and you get your beverage of choice, you grab something to eat, and you walk from poster board to poster board to poster board, and you talk to the author and ask questions.
Yeah, and it's actually great for the students too, because they get to ask like dissertation or thesis questions to help prepare them before they go do their defense.
Oh
You
yeah,
ever think about that?
never thought about that.
So all the industry individuals, the attendees, can come up to the student and grill them by asking them tough questions, so that whenever they go do the defense, the question's already been asked and they have an answer for it.
Wow,
It's kind of a higher chance of success to passing their dissertation or their thesis defense.
that is absolutely awesome. Now, I was talking to a student from, I think he was from China. But he's over here and he's living in Denver, Colorado. He mentioned that he was very impressed with the engagement at those poster boards. He says, he did other events, like I think it's the Power Energy Society.
General meeting, right?
Yeah. And he says that the individuals, like maybe a few individuals, came over to his poster and asked questions, but it was because that's what they were working on.
Yeah.
But in this event, he said he had a very diverse group of people asking him, to your point, all of these different types of questions, because the individuals who are there are not involved with his business or his model of what, like you said, wildfires.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm a power systems engineer, and I go over and I'm looking at this paper on wildfires, and I go, wow. So you start asking questions.
And the nice thing too is that my previous company, before I joined my company now, they do a lot of the risk analysis for utilities for wildfires. So I was talking to the individual afterwards and said, hey, give me your email. I can get you in contact with that company, and they're always looking to hire students like you.
Right.
So you might even have a potential job out of it.
Oh my goodness.
So I mean, how wonderful is that?
And that's the reason why you need to be here.
And this workshop, the reason why that's probably so successful is because the workshop finishes with the technical program, and then the posters are near all the food. So all the attendees rush to the food.
You're right.
So it's strategically placed in the right position.
Why do you think we're next to the bar?
Exactly.
We're not dummies, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
And why do you think the live streaming section is the closest to the bar?
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for engineers, not just engineers. So what are the types of people who should be thinking about coming to the electrical safety workshop? Is it just electrical engineers?
No, the blanket statement is anybody who works with electricity or is near electricity or has electricity in their job description somehow.
Yeah.
So expanding on that, we have electrical engineers, we have operations, we have technicians, we have electricians, we have safety professionals who maybe EHS and has responsibility of electrical safety programs now. And even executives are here to learn about the industry and how they can maybe develop products or how they can improve their own electrical safety programs.
Oh yeah, and I saw UL.
We also have standards organizations
We
here
have
too.
standards organizations. So there's my friends from Costa Rica are here, so there's different countries, there's different types of people, all different levels of education. It's not just doctors. There are doctors. There's a lot of doctors
I'm
here.
one of them. But I don't advertise that too much. Just don't ask. I'm Dr. J. Just don't ask me to shoot a basketball.
Dr. J. What's your doctorate in? Engine electrical?
Yeah, it's electrical engineering, and it's in power system protection.
Power system protection. Wow.
We can expand that later, but
Yeah,
that's the generic.
I just learned that. I did not know you had a doctorate degree.
I used to have like 15 PE licenses, but it's like 7 now because I let a lot lapse.
Yeah,
It sounds really, really,
impressive.
really impressive, but it's not really, because you take the test once, you pay the money, and then you just see a reciprocity with all the other states when you just give them more money. So not that impressive.
No, well, you know, you're keeping up the CEU credits. You're continuing the education. That's another thing that we do here. We give. See, how many CEU? Do you know how many overall CEU?
Up to 33.
33 CEU credits.
3.3 CEUs, 33 PDHs.
33 professional development
Because
hours.
usually 1 CEU equals 10 PDHs.
Ah, gotcha.
Unless if you're in a different industry, like social work or something, a
Yeah.
CEU equals a PDH. But in our electrical industry and I think the safety professional industry, it's 1 CEU equals 10 PDHs.
That is perfect. That's perfect.
And the nice thing about the expo, going back to that since we're here,
Yeah.
is the whole conference or workshop shuts down and all the 574 attendees come to the expo.
Wow.
So it's
It was. I tell you what. Earlier we talked about taking my phone and walking down in front of the booth. You could not see down this aisle. That's how many
you
people.
want a
here.
crash course in potential leads, you come to this expo.
Right here. You're exactly right.
It's 3 hours of work. You'll probably get a week's worth of.
And even if you're a student, to your point, if you're a student and you're doing a paper, or you're a student in IEEE, you can be a student member of IEEE. You can come here to this event, spend a few days, watch some papers get delivered,
Exactly.
or maybe even participate. And if somebody wanted to participate, isn't there a way for a mentoring program?
Oh, of course. So we have a mentoring program. Usually the individuals who are part of that mentoring program have a white button on their shirt that says, "Ask me about paper mentoring." And you can also, on our app, our Event Mobi app, you can always put your name down for a paper reviewer or for paper mentoring.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. So somebody who's never given a paper has a case study. Doesn't have to be like a research project. You could say, look, we had a case, we had an issue. Like I did a paper one time with Ken White, where they had an issue where they used an energy reduction maintenance technology, and it saved some lives. And it was a 15-minute presentation. That's all it was.
And if you don't want to get up in front of people, we have the focus session, which is basically a poster board.
That's right.
As we just talked about earlier,
Yep.
where you don't have to get in front of the whole entire audience, but you can just stand there next to your poster board and answer questions when they're asked.
And if you have more material and you say, I can't just do a 45-minute presentation, I need like 4 hours, we do tutorials.
Yeah,
But none will be better than yours.
exactly. I'm glad you finally agree.
That's just wrong. Well,
I'm quick on my feet. I've been deposed a number of times.
Even this is like a deposition. But I know I appreciate you. I know that you do a lot, as do everybody on the group. And
I've had a number of first-time attendees come up to me this week and thank me for chairing and putting on the first-time attendee event and just helping them feel welcome.
Yeah.
So that's pretty important.
oh, absolutely. Your first-time attendees, or hopefully your second-time attendees is in the future.
And third-time attendees.
Absolutely. I was just at Joe Ratchford here. He's been here for like 12 or 14 years or something. I couldn't tell you how many years I've been coming to these, and I know you've been around for a while too. So once it's like you get hooked on it.
Yep.
You know, you come to the meeting, and it's not just the value of the presentations. It's all of this. To your point, it's the expo. It's the coffee pot chatter. It's the discussions
It's
you
the
watch.
hospitality suites, the
Oh, that's right. The hospitality
technical
suites.
programs.
Forgot about the hospitality suite.
I've been coming since 2016, so this is my 9th year.
Wow.
And they let me chair it after 9 years for some reason. But when I first came,
A weak moment.
yeah, a weak moment, and the executive committee's decisions. But no, they asked me about 4 years ago, right before COVID shut everything down.
Yeah.
So maybe people, weren't thinking properly, right?
Yeah.
But no, my first time coming in, I knew nothing about electrical safety at all. I was coming here to learn about arc flash and 1584, and basically stumbled upon a few of the subcommittee meetings. And ended up deciding to chairing one of them because they were looking for a chair.
Sure.
And got hooked ever since. And the mentorship from yourself and many others
Yeah.
over the years, I feel like I know a ton about electrical safety now. So
It's amazing how much you can absorb. Yeah. And to your point, there's so many opportunities for leadership. And we're looking for younger people. We're looking for energetic people. We're looking for people who want to commit to help put stuff like this on.
our whole goal is to make sure whatever condition you come into work as, you leave in the same condition, right?
Amen. Absolutely right. We have families to worry about.
Yep.
We have, oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a common goal every one of us have, regardless of what company we work for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this whole organization tries to do it for the entire industry and the world, actually, not even just
Oh my, no, yes.
industrial.
That's right, yeah.
Residential, other places too.
So Nihad and I presented at Power Africa over Marrakesh, and that's an IEEE event. So the IEEE is working to help other countries bring electricity to do good. So I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep, I have to go do my chair duties now.
Yes.
And thank everyone for coming to the expo.
I thank you very
So,
much
thanks,
for
Tom.
what you do.
Yep, see you later.
Take care, stay safe, and please stay healthy. Love it. I love it. Okay. Oh, we're still online. Yeah, we go till the end. Amen. All right, still needs to get on 70p. Shout out to Joe. Tom, hey, get your mic on. But oh, look at you. Best in show. He is the hall monitor of a safety event. He's the hall monitor. Jay is the hall monitor. You're the one who received the Tom Dimitrowicz Award for Safety Excellence. There we go. Look who's here. Michael.
Tom Dimitrowicz,
How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful.
I know.
Living
You are
great.
you are best in show?
Best in show.
Is this so do you bark or do you meow or
Well, let's not go into that. Okay. But we have a new product here at the Electrical Safety Workshop.
but who are you?
Who am I? Oh,
Tell the group.
well, okay. So I work for the external training team within the services division.
Yeah.
So we're responsible for all the customer training on operation of equipment, maintenance of equipment, the fundamentals of design and the engineering aspect, one line drawing reading or three
Yeah.
lines, all the background information. I'm responsible for that team that does all that training for the services.
Wow.
So when we do that, we have two training centers, Warrendale, Pennsylvania, close
right.
to your heart, right?
Oh yeah. Bless
And
you.
then Houston, Texas.
Oh yeah.
It's another facility we use.
Yeah.
We have training trailers that we ship all across the U.S.
Training trailer.
Trailers, yeah.
Then when
So,
when you say a trailer, what do you mean? Explain it.
so-
Describe it.
So our first one is a 53-foot semi-trailer
Okay.
that expands out on both sides. So it's 53 by 16 foot.
Wow.
Entire classroom in the back
Wow.
for 8 to 10 people. On top of that, we're also looking at all the equipment that we have. So we have switchgear in it, low voltage switchgear,
Yeah.
medium voltage switchgear, dry type transformers,
Wow.
bus duct, NCCs, switchboards,
That's insane.
panel boards,
Crazy Eddie's
transfer
insane.
switches, all in the trailer, right?
All in that one trailer.
In one trailer. Okay. On top of that, you're gonna love this, Tom. It's all wired together as a system, so I can give you the one line for the system. It's at 120 volts, so it's not 480, it's not 460.
Right.
No hazard there, no arc flash.
Right.
Self-powered by a generator on board, right?
Wow.
And when you operate the breakers, it works as a real system. So you can take the low voltage switchgear breaker that feeds the bus duct, shut it off, go verify the absence of voltage. If you turned it back on, the voltage would be there.
It's all on wheels.
All on wheels. It is about 51,000 pounds, that trailer rolling down the
Do
road.
you need someone to drive it?
Oh yeah, hey, we
I'll drive it, baby. I'll do
you
it.
just need your CDL.
Oh man.
So
Wow.
we also have 2 other trailers we use filled with different equipment. So every trailer is a little different based on your needs.
So if any customer or anybody out there who wants training on electrical distribution equipment and they call Mike King and they say, hey Mike, I want you to come out to Timbuk 3, Arkansas and do a training program for me. I've got, I don't know, however many guys and gals who need to train. You could drive that truck out to that location, set it up, bring out the sides, expand it, bring them on and do a training class.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
So The longest training class we've done so far is 5 days, just in one trailer's worth of equipment.
5 days.
Yep. Just
Wow.
on the equipment in the trailer. And a benefit is when we bring the equipment to you, let's say your workforce is not 5 people, 10 people.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 30 people, 40 people, right? You can't afford to lose all of your electricians.
Oh, yeah, right,
facility
right.
facility
Yeah.
employees, right? So you could split the class in half, or maybe do 3 works of training where we rotate your employees
yeah.
through.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And as a special, you're gonna love this, Tom.
Oh,
So we charge by hauling cost. We don't rent the trailer to you for training. So if we bring the trailer to you, you pay the one-time fee to get the trailer there.
yeah.
It sits there for 3 weeks, 3 classes. Maybe we put a break in between the weeks.
Right.
You don't have to pay for all that time.
Wow. And what you're saving is if you have a bunch of people, they're not flying to Pittsburgh or to Houston. They're not spending time in a hotel. They're not buying dinners and
Right.
buying drinks and all that good stuff.
Who would buy drinks?
No,
None of us.
no, none of us. They would, but so you're avoiding all of that. That's smart.
Absolutely.
It wasn't my idea. Whose idea was it?
Well, we don't like to take credit for anything. It was a joint effort.
It was a joint effort. Okay. That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
And then on top of that, so let's say you bought a piece of switchgear that's not Eaton. Maybe it's,
Oh, that was my next question.
well, I was going to say, maybe it's somebody else's switchgear that currently manufactures.
Sure.
Maybe it was Alice Chalmers switchgear from 1940. Have
Okay.
you ever seen that gear?
Oh, yes, I have.
That's good stuff, right?
Yeah.
We had a customer that wanted training on Alice Chalmers 1940 switchgear. We have a relationship with a used equipment dealer. We went, found the switchgear that matched what they had,
No.
took pictures because you can't get manuals for that anymore.
Right.
Built manuals to do the training on how to operate and maintain the gear.
No.
We shipped the equipment on a
Get
flatbed to their site in California. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Did the
man.
training and then hauled the equipment home.
That is awesome.
So we're willing to do that on
Wow.
used equipment, on used
Oh,
equipment,
that is.
whatever you need.
That's insane. So that was going to be my question. So what if that's old equipment, but even if you had like newer equipment that was say a competitive product, and you said, well, Eaton didn't get the job this time, but I have all this equipment and I need trained on it. You can still do something like that.
So last year in Pittsburgh, right, our training center, some eyes gave me a little bit of an odd look when the flatbed showed up, and we brought in one of our competitors' current production switchgear, 3 sections across, brought it into the building
Yeah.
on pallets, put it together, and we actually did training on the competitor's switchgear, as well as some of our equipment that they had. 'Cause
Right.
It's a big facility that bought from multiple manufacturers.
So there must be if I was Joe Schmuckatelli manufacturing in Timbuk, wherever, say in West by God, Virginia, and I said, you know what, I'm going to call Mike up and I'm going to say, Mike, this is the stuff we have in the facility. You'll do what you can to figure out what you can get there. And then I'm sure you could sit down and say, look, it's a panel board. I can train you on our panel board as well as their panel board. The panel board is probably going to be very similar. There's probably some nuances and you could address that.
We've done some cross training where we've used the PowerPoint slides and pictures
Yeah.
to show how it works in their equipment, and then we went out to the lab and showed them our equipment that was slightly different, but
Yeah.
worked the same way.
Works the same way. So you could do stuff like that, but you would plan that out front, figure out the package that you would be talking to the customer with, and then just lay it out and set up a date.
Yeah. So customer feedback I've received as to what the hardest part of working with the training team
What's that?
is the meetings up front to define what the outline is.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
And that's the most important piece.
It is.
You don't want to show up and then have everybody leave and go, well, that's not even what we needed. That's a good point.
Yep. So we will take the time, sit down with you up front.
Wow.
Before we even quote a training, we'll sit down with them,
Right.
work out what that outline is going to look like, and make sure we're all on the same page as
Right.
to what that finished product will look like.
Well, that is huge. Now, another thing that I know you had over there, and we played with a little bit last night, the Best in Show.
Best in Show, that's what we're talking about, yep.
Oh, is that so?
That is up for the Best in Show competition for this event, yeah.
The Oculus.
The Oculus, yeah.
So, do we have an official name, or do we just call it the Oculus? Do we call it Oculi?
Well, right now we refer to it as either virtual simulation
Okay.
or the Oculus.
All right.
However, that's a little misleading because, so let me give you the feed or the background on how this all came to be.
Right.
So when COVID hit, we were actually a little ahead of our time. We were already trying to figure out how do we test our Eaton employees that are all across the U.S. and Canada, right?
Yeah.
Because we're close to Canada now. And we said, hey, let's try to build some computer simulation
Right.
to test knowledge, where somebody had to operate a breaker after they did their JSA, right? Their job safety hazard analysis.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Gotta
yeah,
do that
yeah.
first, right? And then they need to open the breaker. They need to apply locks. They need to check for the evidence of voltage, apply grounds, right?
Yeah.
And we started working on a computer simulation on how to do that. And we built that, and we're rolling it out, believe it or not, right when COVID hit.
Wow.
So it was just dumb luck timing,
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
really good, you know,
Yeah.
smart timing, who knows.
Smart. Yeah.
But we rolled that out to our field employees, and we saw the benefits of it. We also saw that, yeah, it's kind of clunky sometimes trying to do stuff with the computer.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So then we said, hey, how can we improve on this? And we said, you know what? Let's put it on a tablet, right? Because now you know the tablet, you
man.
can scroll,
Yeah,
walk
you use your
around.
hand, yeah.
You use your hand, right? It's
Yeah.
a little more than a mouse and a keyboard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we rolled that out to our internal employees. We also started selling that on the market a little bit, where we have some customers purchase it to do testing of their own employees, where we customized it for them with their PPE choices, their JSA,
Yeah. Yeah.
their activity they wanted, and they, as an outcome, after the person took the test, got a report on each individual, pass, fail, and every step along the way, what they did right, what they did wrong,
Wow.
all that. Fast forward another year, we're looking at how do we improve again, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the Oculus comes into play. So in the Oculus world, you have the headset on, so you only see this virtual world.
Yeah.
You're holding controllers. You did that right.
Oh, I did that. Yeah.
Right? For each finger, you have different buttons you can
Yeah.
point, right?
I can point to press a
can
button.
grab
I can
things.
grab. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we built the virtual world into the Oculus, and we can do the same testing that we did on the tablet and computer-based.
Oh, that's insane.
But we've also now started building tutorials, where in the tutorial, it'll walk you through step by step what you need to do to open and close the breaker, rack it in and out.
Right.
And it's not just visual. What a lot of people like is you actually hear all the sights and sounds. So when you hit open on the breaker, you actually heard the sound in your ear.
Ah, nice.
So it's giving you live feedback, and we've programmed it. And this was one question I got today was, well, that's really great. It can do this, but you know, real world, you have two pieces of equipment wired together, like
Right.
the trailer, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, in the Oculus, we built a one line with the equipment. You open the breaker, you go verify the absence of voltage downstream, it's gone. You close the breaker, voltage comes back.
Oh, nice.
So it's all been programmed into the background to work like a real system.
That is very nice. Now, you obviously need two people, because I know when you have that headset on, it's easy to walk around and get lost in the environment.
Well, okay. So I probably shouldn't say this, but we're beta testing right now
Yeah.
a multiplayer version where a instructor can even pop into the room from across the country, see exactly what you're doing, and interact with you through the Oculus.
That is amazing.
It's cool.
Oh, and you know what? That opens doors. That you could teach someone how to do the shepherd's hook and release There's not too many training programs around that.
You're right, absolutely.
If you had two people in a virtual environment interacting with each other,
Yep,
that'd
be cool. And we're going
is
there.
best in show.
That's right.
That's best in show material.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, it's great working on this stuff, seeing it progress and figuring out the little bugs in the code, right? Because coders are pretty good, but they make mistakes, right?
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
You know, you find the bugs.
We're all human beings.
You know, at one point you could walk out the one wall and you'd actually fall off a cliff into the Netherlands. Like,
Wow.
It was cool. Cool. We fixed that bug though.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane.
So yeah, I was gonna say the last thing I want to say, because people get a little worried sometimes when we talk virtual, is from the cruise.
We're live on YouTube. Yeah. You're afraid to ask the question? You have the button. Ask me about my paper mentoring. So what's your question? We have a question from Lloyd Gordon. Who in Eaton? Oh.
By the way, I actually have answers for you, Lloyd.
Yeah, he's the right guy. Yep, he's the right guy.
I made some phone calls.
Well, you know what? Not right now because we're live right now.
And emails. So yeah, we don't want this going out on the.
Yeah, you don't want that out to the 4 million people who are watching. I love it.
All right, Lloyd. The last thing I
good
wanted to say.
Yes.
Before we move on.
Mike King.
The last thing I wanted to say was a lot of people get nervous about the virtual world sometimes, right? So I would never recommend that somebody completely replaces all their training with virtual. I don't want people to walk away with that, right?
You're right. Yep.
So how does the virtual training and testing fit into the bigger program? Right? So we have new hires coming into industry.
Yep.
Maybe out of a tech school, maybe out of a university, college, right?
Yep.
Maybe out of the military.
Yep.
Don't have experience in the industry.
Sure.
And how do you train them? How do you get them to ask the right questions?
Yeah.
Well, you can put them in a virtual world now where they can play around, they can come up with those questions, and then when you put them in a class, they can ask the questions, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And they're better suited to ask those questions.
Absolutely.
And then 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, they're working on a piece of gear that they haven't touched in 5 years. And they got out, right?
Oh, yeah.
How do you do it? Well, step into the virtual world, spend 20 minutes, and get the refresher, right?
Absolutely.
So I would not replace the in-person hands-on class, but I would definitely mix it with virtual. And we have a question.
Robert from Omaha wants to know, what about cybersecurity with virtual training?
Cybersecurity is an issue for sure. So we're dealing with that to make sure that behind the scenes everything is coded properly so that only you as the end user has the access to your virtual simulation.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Beautiful.
It's already written into the program.
See that, Robert?
Great question.
Like Anna Marie Albagetti, it's in there. I like it.
Because we actually have a whole cybersecurity team.
We have a whole cybersecurity team.
Doing it.
Max Wandera leads that up, and he does him and his team do a fantabulous job. Absolutely. Beautiful. Way to go, brother.
I was just here. I mean, Tom, you're the real star here.
Thank you very much.
I've said that before.
Thank you for everything you do, bro.
And for everybody out there, if you want to be Tom's friend, Diet Coke works, but he really enjoys Dr. Pepper.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have Brett Brenner.
All right.
Come on, Brett. Get around here. Go around.
Brett, we'll get you all mic'd up here.
Thank you. Mr. King. All right. What another awesome opportunity.
Such an opportunity.
We have in front of us. The one, the only, Brett Brenner from ESFI. It's been a while. I'm doing good. Good to see you. You too. Very good to see you. So, Brett, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
I can do that. So I run the Electrical Safety Foundation International. So very close partners with Eaton, talking a lot about their gear, things like arc fault circuit interrupters, ground fault, all the companies that Eaton has acquired, a lot of things we deal with on that front too.
Yep.
So we're here talking obviously workplace safety, but we have everything from consumer safety all the way up to workplace safety that we're excited to talk about and promote and make sure safety remains front of mind. So
Nice. 1 second. You know the other thing we can do is that button right there. If we roll that, we can open the iris and get it brighter. Right in front. Nope. No. Right here. I'm sorry. Right here. You roll it back and forth. There you go. And that'll change the. You got it gone? Perfect. We were worried about lighting. So ESFI, Electrical Safety Foundation International. You put out a lot of great materials to educate, and I know some of your materials are really great for homeowners, and I know electricians will download that information. They should download that information and share that with homeowners, because educating on safety, if you can get the homeowner involved and asking for the right solutions, or be prepared to say, I know about that, when their electrician brings that to the table. But you just don't focus on residential, do you?
no, everything from residential to workplace. And I think the interesting thing when you start talking about consumers, we provide tools that you can better upsell your other products that you're putting out there. So as a contractor, if you're smart, you're utilizing other third-party validated sources like us and Eaton, the tools that you have, to really get out there and sell products, but also sell your services and sell that you're looking out for their best interests as well. I think it's a very important part of the discussion. And they're not just looking for an electrician, yes, to put out this problem, to kind of create that partnership, if you will, to make sure that these things aren't long-standing problems. Do your electrical safety checklist that we have on our site, and I'm sure you all do as well. But you go through the home and just identify problem areas or things they might have other issues with, and you start to develop a relationship and start to install that stuff as time goes on. You keep them safe, you grow your business, and you're actually ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And sometimes safety, especially like in an existing, we were talking about 7dB and maintenance, and you have an existing facility and you need to get it up to par. You don't have to do it overnight. You have to be aware, you have to understand the solutions, understand the hazards, understand what you can do to resolve those hazards, and then put a budget in place, put a plan in place, and maybe in 2 years, in 3 years, at least you have a plan that you're building to increase your safety, and whether it be in a residential, commercial building, an industrial facility.
100%. I mean, I think what we found as an organization, we've realized it's kind of a circular economy where you really have to have not only the best stuff installed, right, but you need to be using it appropriately. So interoperability, right? So you're going to put solar, voltaics on your roof, or you're going to have, whatever the case is, electric vehicles coming on.
Right.
You need to be thinking about this stuff to upgrade, but also plan ahead. And you're right, you don't have to do it all at one time. You can take this piecemeal, but the idea is to maximize the effect that you're getting out of this new equipment as you're putting it in. Have a long-range plan. Have things like surge protection, which is relatively new to the curve, and it's like you start to eliminate downtime. Wait a minute, if you start to eliminate downtime, your C-suite's going to love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So think about these products that are out there that are going to eliminate a lot of the problems that you have. Thinking bigger picture and bringing in, again, even on the home side, to the contractor side, don't be a one-shot wonder. I mean, one-shot wonder with these folks and the people that you work with. You really need to be looking at this as a business opportunity with them to say, I can get you to where you want to go. Let's talk about what makes the most sense for you.
Right.
I'll be happy to find out whatever problems you're having. We can figure out there's financing things or whatever. Around that. But if you can improve efficiency, improve your downtime, and all those other kind of great stuff, interoperability and all that kind of stuff, it just makes for an easier way to do business, develop new customers, business development.
Yeah.
You don't have to go too far to look for new customers if your customers that you already have are happy.
Yeah.
So instill that in them. They'll be your best, talking
Absolutely.
What you want.
That's the best market. Somebody had made the statement about how they grew their business, and it was like they do something great for one person, and all of a sudden, what's his name was here? He made the statement that his senior leadership bought equipment around safety for all of his workers, and he said they were tweeting or they were chirping or whatever it was. They were just telling everybody because that's you do one good thing for a group of individuals and then it just spreads, like wildfire. But also that one bad thing gets around too, probably even faster.
Well, the big thing, especially when we're talking about nowadays with employee shortages and stuff like that, and getting truly qualified people, which are super hard to find, people that you can truly trust, right? Even within your own company, everybody has their own go-to people. Oh, go to Bill. Bill knows what he's doing. He takes safety seriously, or whatever the case might be. You can go to Bill and ask Bill anything. So I think the thing that you got to remember is like if you can instill more of those Bills in your workplace, and actually have that as part of your business and keep those people because you're giving them the right PPE, you're giving them the right connectivity to make sure they're staying out of harm's way. Taking care of those people is going to retain those people, and you don't have to go find out and replace somebody like Bill because people are going to be looking to steal them.
Oh yeah,
right? So there's a whole component of this is, it's like happy wife, happy life. I hear that all the time, but it's the same thing with employees. If you can keep the good people that you have, I know you and I have been around a long time in our organizations. Absolutely. That just speaks to the fact that we're passionate about it, number one. And number two, we have a skill set that's going to be very hard to replace, and it's actually easier for us to do the lift because we know this stuff like it's our back of our hand.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now, in my tutorial on Tuesday, we were talking about the trade-offs and about the trade-offs and goals and objectives, and cost was one of those. And we all struggle with funding and trying to get support for either a safety program or solutions or whatnot. I know ESFI. Now, do you provide materials that an individual and an organization could use to help people understand the likelihood of possibility, like we were talking about jumping out of a plane. There's places that have statistics on how many people get killed or injured jumping out of a plane, getting on a plane from A to B. But there are statistics around linemen, there's shock, and I know there are multiple organizations. Does ESFI have information and resources that someone would be able to use to help paint that picture for leadership?
Yeah, so the best way to describe the organization, the foundation that we run is basically we look at the data points tell us a story. We look at the reportables to figure out what people are doing wrong both in the workplace and at home. And then we craft materials, awareness materials that you can go out and utilize in your own unique way that tell the story of this is how this person's being killed. We can start to see trends and things going up and down. Like right now we're dealing with lithium-ion and battery storage, energy storage systems, which is becoming a bigger issue. We usually have lagging indicators. These new technologies, you're going to have more and more customers looking at you to say, this new technology, I need to know about it, but I need you to tell me, like, what should I be worried about, right? So we give you as much information as we can of the lagging indicators, but it's also up to all of us to start talking about the future things. Battery storage, electric vehicles, vehicle supply equipment. All this stuff should start to be part of our normal conversations. And who is a customer going to look for, or two as an expert? It's going to be the folks like Eaton and the customers that you serve, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so the more you know, the more educated your customers are going to be. And the more educated your customers are going to be, you're going to be able to teach them pretty quickly. They can save money, they can save time, they can do all the things you're looking for. And you start to build the case of not only can I give you the statistics, but I can also give you the C-suite stuff that they're going to like in terms of the economic impact.
Thought about that. That's very important because then it helps. And I was talking to Joe Ratchford too about how you have to talk one way to leadership, you talk a different way to those who are in the industry, in the business, in the trenches, so to speak, working, right? You talk to those who are out there in the working force, say, look, you want to get home at the end of the day because you want them to be making the right decisions. No close calls, right? You want them to get home, you want them to be able to provide a likelihood or a livelihood for their families. But then when you look up, you need to be able to provide information for your management to say, look, here's what we're doing and why we're doing it, and it's good for the business.
And I think too is the close relationship you have with your suppliers, your contractors. They're going to teach you things that you didn't know, ways to upgrade your business. So lighting, different things.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the lighting thing coming on, 70B coming online and requiring this stuff. There's going to be so much that you don't know in this space that your manufacturer partners can help the contractors educate themselves, better educate their customers, and turn that into positive business. But you're also eliminating the potential of getting some kind of a find levy against
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
And so it's kind of a win-win-win across the board. Not to mention, there's more regulations than ever, and I think you have to rely on your partners to kind of be your subject matter experts. Tap into those folks as much as you possibly can, because they're in business to keep you in business and vice versa. So it's a scratch your back, scratch my back kind of thing. And I think the relationships that you develop with your customers is a great thing.
Oh, absolutely right. It's very, very, see that? Look at this. This is what we have to contend with. People trying to make you laugh. You know?
Some people should be retired.
There's some people should stay retired. But you know, so you've been coming to the workshop for how many years now?
Probably going on 18. That's how long the organization. So, I mean, one of the things we were talking about at the booth is, you know, some of the folks that are gray hairs, right? We didn't have those.
Yeah.
I'm getting them here, and you're winning on that one.
Yeah.
But literally, it's like the things we've been doing over 18 years. You look back when this started, when I pretty much graduated high school, it was just a thought. You know, hey, why don't we put together something like this? This is now, you have 400 people here, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about electrical safety from various different from automotive, oil and gas, electrical safety, audit services.
Sure.
I mean, you look around, it's not just the Eatons that you would expect to see. It's a bunch of other people that have contact points of electricity, and they're realizing it's dangerous for them and their employees.
Oh, absolutely.
They're taking this stuff more seriously. So where this workshop has come in basically 30 years, which is roughly the same age as the foundation, is pretty amazing. And the fact is that, you know, arc flash, we got in front of that so far, right? We're actually limiting that stuff to one person a year is basically dying from arc flash.
Oh, yeah.
We've done such a great job with the components, with the awareness, with the PPE, with all the stuff that's out there. We actually headed that problem off, whereas the rest of the world is suffering with that stuff still because they weren't prepared. You know, that's one of the benefits of being in a really well-developed country that actually has a lot of new services being put in.
Yeah.
You upgrade that new technology, the new service. The cool thing that we're looking at now is things like wearables and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually pretty cool. Like, the person can't be in harm's way if there's no energy and they're not even in the room.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right.
You avoid those two things, you're putting us out of business. Like, and that's the thing. My board is always telling me, like, your job is to put yourself out of business.
Absolutely right.
And it's the truth.
Yeah, you want zero hazards, and now all of a sudden, well, okay, I don't talk about safety anymore because it's inherent, and nobody's getting hurt, nobody's getting killed.
I want to tell you a little bit of an anecdotal story. So we've done some survey work recently, and over my time, as we've done these surveys, when we get the comments, a lot of times it's interesting, we actually get a ton of comments on our surveys about, like, hey, why don't you think about this? So we did an arc fault circuit interrupter survey, and we found out that, number one, there's probably not enough energy in most modern day homes, and they're having to, you know, overload outlets and things like that, overload circuits. Kind of expected, right? But what we didn't realize is that as we start to educate these electricians as they go out on their own, so let's say they work for a conglomerate company, a contractor, whoever, then they go out on their own and start their own business. What they're finding is like we saw in the survey results, that basically people start to tie together, like, your business isn't being as productive because we're talking about AFCIs and circuit breakers, but then they start mentioning things like surge protection. And they're like, well, that's some of the problem too. Like, you're losing these devices because you have lack of surge protection. Or did you think about this? Or did you think about... So we've actually pollinated it enough in the younger generation, educating them, they become your Pied Pipers. That's a little bit of like what we do. It's pretty amazing to see those cross-pollination opportunities when you're looking for one thing and you see something completely different.
Yeah.
And those electricians now are in charge of some of these places that we never thought was going to be happening. So it's pretty that happening.
That's insane. There's so much. There's just so much. And we're all engaged. And you have a booth here too.
Have a booth. Come by. All of our information is free. I should probably mention that.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Eaton's been a huge supporter of us along the way, but we also get a lot from the relationship in terms of relying on you for codes and standards education and things like that too. So it's kind of an army that we represent everybody from the, you know, utilities all the way down to the end contractors. We have people on our board of directors, but all those people are now starting to talk more and more. Whereas before there was like, oh, I don't know if I should talk to them, or should I trust the manufacturer or the distributor, or are these people looking out for their own good? They really realize everybody has to work together to kind of advance the tide for everybody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, this is our time as an industry to really show what we can do. We have long since relied on codes and standards and stuff behind the wall, things you can't see, like the panel board over here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's now time to say this stuff. None of this stuff would happen if it wasn't for folks like us.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that includes the contractors and the electricians that do the grunt work, but they're the ones that make that stuff happen. And you
absolutely.
can drive by 30 years from now, right, and say, I helped build that stadium.
I know,
helped do this."
absolutely.
That's a cool
Yeah.
thing to be able to tell your kids. Regardless
Yeah.
of where you lie on the pecking order, you can have a piece of it.
Absolutely right. And we need more of those individuals in the industry. So we need people making that decision, young people, to say, what kind of career do I want? There is a career in installation, whether it be electrical, HVAC. You never know where it's going to take you. You could own your own business in the future. Right?
You can get into the other side of things, which is half of your all's business is software.
Yeah.
So it's the IT side, it's the smart side of things that maybe we're not even talking about.
Absolutely.
There's a whole different angle to who Eaton typically employs is much different now than it was, even 5 years ago.
Oh, absolutely right. I love it. Thank you. Thanks for what you do, brother.
Absolutely. Good
I
stuff.
appreciate it. All right, Brett.
All right, appreciate it.
I appreciate it. All right. We said greetings to ESFI from Robert from Omaha. Excellent. All right. What's that? We're getting close. What was the announcement? Yeah, I couldn't even hear what they said. Oh, we got time. Beautiful. IGX. I'll tell you what, there's another product that is absolutely, oh, look at this. We're getting, oh, there, let's put this in the middle. Get my glasses, my spectacles. Yeah, you can change that down lower, right there. It's that, yep.
Talking to me or her?
Is it brighter? Right, we are. Is it live or is it Memorex? All right, so you.
Tom, it's been a good show.
Oh, we've had so many people out here. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I am so impressed with, well, we had a record attendance, and then they all just sort of migrated right over here.
Yeah, we do cool stuff like your show.
Oh, boy, you think? Wow.
I think so.
I love it. It's funny is we've had some people like look over and they want to ask questions, and you're like, we're live right now. It's good stuff, though. It's good stuff. So, what's this?
So this is insulated gas switchgear.
Insulated gas switchgear.
Yeah.
IGS.
IGX. Yes, but
Okay.
X's are cooler for
X's are cooler.
branding logos and whatnot. But yeah, so it's insulated gas, which is newer for us to get into, but not new.
Right.
And has been, as you may, I'm sure you know, common in IEC world for years.
Yes.
And has the opportunity, what it does with that gas, to shrink the footprint of the gear. Right.
Right.
So we have an offering. It's an international offering that we can talk through. But the fact is why it's here, because there is a safety element to it, being that it's by design, it's naturally going to be arc flash resistant.
Oh, it's arc resistant.
Because now your gas is in a contained environment. That's really where that arcing occurs.
Okay.
And so now, rather than doing it in an open air breaker,
Right.
you're doing it inside of a gas chamber,
Okay.
and therefore
That's sealed.
it's sealed. So,
Wow.
so that's what's interesting, just in general, with the nuances of some, but not all IEC switchgear, is that it's inherently something like an arc flash rated. Not always the
Right.
same, because they don't have that kind of same classification per se.
Right, right.
So that's not for that discussion. That's a great discussion when you try to compare. Anytime harmonizing, IEC and UL or CSA, whatever, is always a hard thing to do, or an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
But regardless, our version of it is meets that kind of criteria. And so it's a very interesting opportunity when we especially look at some of the heavier industry folks. Like I just hung out with ArcelorMittal for a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, steel making is a pretty dangerous environment, so they got a lot of enclosures and caution they take around how they insulate where that electrical energy is for lots of reasons. And so something like this is very attractive to them because now it's a way of containing, especially in that case, a medium voltage, and or high current case. Application case, and now you get a whole different ball game here of how you interrupt the breaker. So
Smaller footprint, you have less space you have to worry about. So it's more economic. It's probably a lot more efficient from a spacing perspective.
it is, right? So and just by design, it does tend to have a smaller footprint than your air insulated breakers.
Right.
The trade-off is that now it's an insulated container, right? So there's certainly pros and cons to either approach, but we wouldn't be promoting a building if we didn't think there was certainly some heavy pros for those people where that application is necessary.
And you know what I always say, you always have to look at every solution as does it fit my application? And not every solution fits every application. That's all there is. Yeah.
Just because I carry a hammer doesn't make every problem an hammer.
But you know, a hammer has solved many of my problems. I'm just saying.
Yes.
So what kind of questions are we getting in the booth?
So it's interesting because they want to know what maintainability looks like on it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right? And this goes back into that NFPA 70B story.
Yeah.
And the quick version of that is, well, really? You don't have some of the same maintenance activity do it with an air insulated case breaker because I'm not going into exercise to clean off the contact.
I remember on the committee because when we developed this edition, which is the standard in 70B, we had those discussions because we have a little table in the I forget which chapter number it is, and in that table we had to say, look, these items, you don't do this for this insulated equipment because you can't inspect the contacts because they're all contained. Right. You can't do a lot of the different maintenance features.
And potentially, even if you do, you could disturb the integrity of the product.
Oh yeah,
so could be in a worse spot than if you
exactly right.
Do that, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a very common theme with some of those folks. Of course, the footprint's relevant, but really what it does is it allows now for a different application to switch gear that gives, especially stateside, North American side, that wasn't necessarily readily available. Others have been doing it, but the fact is we have some newer technology to it. And one interesting piece.
I love it.
Some announcements here going on, so it's exciting. One interesting piece we talk about here is the fact of meeting both, an IEEE and an IEC standards. We are the first to do that. Part of that, as we're talking about harmonizing of standards, can be different, and it gets complex. And we look at, especially some of our larger multinational firms, and they like the idea from both a cost standpoint, but as well as a safety standpoint, maintenance standpoint of harmonizing product across their portfolio.
So the other aspect, like on the National Electrical Code, there's some subtle changes over the last couple cycles where we recognized that the National Electrical Code installation requirements are supposed to be in alignment with the standards for the products that are being installed. So if you take a piece of equipment that is designed for the European market or China or whatever part of the globe and bring it here in the United States, the installation requirements that we have in the National Electrical Code don't align with the standards. So you have to make sure that you're installing equipment that are listed to standards, that are developed in accordance with the National Electrical Code. So the fact that we have a product that is listed to IEEE C37 20.9 and IEC 62271-200 tells me I can take this one product because it's an IEEE standard, it's referenced in the code, I can install that here in accordance with the National Electrical Code.
Right.
And because it's listed to the other standards, I can also apply that same product abroad. So now, one solution, any market.
And then the training aspects of it, lots of things are just a big positive that's very attractive to the multinationals, if nothing else, but certainly those that have the case where they can appreciate the environment that this brings of the containment of the gas. So,
Absolutely.
So that's another interesting question, right? So because it is an insulated gas, the next question would be how safe is it, right? So there's a few different ways that other folks might do that installation. And to your point about installation, filling a tank on site could be difficult, could be dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
So ours come preloaded.
Yeah.
And so that's a different storyline around, hey, how do you get it there and install it? Well, those gas tanks are sealed and ready to roll, factory tested before they show up on site. Because while we love working with equipment on site, the fact is you're not in the factory setting.
Yeah,
And we actually had an interesting dialogue about that with a white paper IEEE talking about when we talk about factory acceptance testing versus field installation testing.
Right.
It's like there's a reason why they're different, because the codes and the standards we follow as a manufacturer to push something out the door isn't necessarily the same thing you want to have on your maintenance program.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
When I test a breaker for continuity or for interrupting, it's not that same test I want to do on site. One, because it might be dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And two, it might be destructive.
Yeah.
And three, I may not have those tools, so it's going to be really hard and expensive. I may not be doing the right test. So it's one thing if it goes out the door the right way.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going back to this of, it's going to go out the door the right way. Right? And that's a different story on how you do maintenance. Per se on that, which again goes back to that NFPA 70B story.
Right.
Of now I've got this factory sealed container. What does my maintenance look like versus if I had filled it on site?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right, so it goes back to that story again of how do we
go
that path. So that's why it's here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It seems to me everything goes back to 70B these days, Tom. At least.
Oh my gosh.
Today.
That was a big change for our industry. I think a good one because here's the thing, 70, and people ask me about the enforcement of 70B versus 70E and the National Electrical Code, and 70B is enforced like 70E is. If you have an event, an OSHA is going to look at your facility, they're going to look at your maintenance, and then they're going to look at 70B to say, okay, you should be doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Are you? Could you have evidence of that? And if you don't, then it could be an issue.
Could be.
Could be. And then, but 70B was written in a way which says, well, you could do this, and you may want to consider. Well, you can't go into a facility and say, okay, you should be doing this. Well, it says you could. It doesn't say you shall. Right? So now we've moved that over, and there was a process of trying to identify what are the actual critical pieces. Because what used to be in there of the you coulds and you shoulds was a recommended practice. But to go to a you shall, you have to really look at the requirements and say, do we really want a you shall do this? Is it defendable?
Right.
Does it make sense? Right? And we went through that process, which was very it was time consuming, and there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of debate, a lot of disagreement, but then you come to consensus, and now we have a standard that everybody wants to talk about because it's a very important piece of the safety puzzle.
Absolutely right. And I think to your point about how everybody starts to embrace it, and it takes time to do that right. That's why us and others will learn and both coach on that process as we go through it. But the fact is, we look at some of these others of how long did it take some folks before they really did their arc flash studies and labeled everything properly. And how many, by the way, bad arc flash studies were out there for misapplications of stickers, or there's a learning process we all have to respect and go through, but we don't get there by being complacent.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Oh, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Complacency is not a good place to be when it comes to safety and safe work practices.
We bothered to make it a standard for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I like that. I like that. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use that. Man, Tara, I tell you, he's coming up with some good stuff, man. I'm telling you. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
get a guest to come through.
Okay, we have one more guest, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Sounds great. Come back and say hi at the end here.
Yeah, take your little sign.
I will.
And maximize safety and uptime, and make sure you get your Power Expert IGX today. Act now. I love it. Shelly. Oh, finally. I love it.
Hi, thank you.
You?
Am I going to be your last victim of the day?
You are the last victim of the day, but
That's
the most
nice.
important, we save the best for last.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
I was thinking about you
Uh-oh.
last night when I knew you were going to be doing this, and I realized that it was probably a good opportunity for me to share why this show is so important to me personally.
Excellent.
And being that this is my 17th
17th
year in a
year.
row
Wow.
to be at this show, I wanted to share a story with you that I'm not sure that you know.
Okay.
This show is important to me, and shows like this because of the awareness to electrical safety, products, services, and just general awareness.
Right.
Because when I was younger, I did have several incidents that happened to me personally.
Really?
I was in the field, and ignorance or just this type of awareness just wasn't there. The products weren't there. The training wasn't there.
Yeah.
And yes, I had a 277 flash in my face.
Really?
I was on top of a metal ladder,
Oh, wow.
and I had no hard hat. I had no safety glasses. I was burned in my face, my hair, my eyebrows, and thought I was blind.
Wow.
Yeah, so I carefully stepped down off the ladder.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, everything was okay. But I didn't have the experience. I mean, I didn't have that
Wow.
awareness. So for 17 plus years now, I've been really dedicated to
Wow.
safety products
Oh,
and
absolutely.
safety-oriented products. So I just wanted to share that story with you, with the people watching, and just say, I love these types of collaborations where we can come together and share and our products and services that help our colleagues, our friends, our family members come home to their families at night.
That is the most important thing. Now,
Absolutely.
how did you not come off the ladder? I mean, that had to be, if you think about an event like that,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been over off the edge. I mean, that's amazing.
Like I said, by the grace of God.
Yeah,
By the grace
somebody
of God.
was with you
Yes.
that day.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was an event I will never forget. And there've been other situations that I have witnessed.
Yeah.
A gentleman got his thumb blown off, reaching into an energized cabinet for his tool that he dropped.
Wow.
Blew off his thumb, had to have it grafted to his stomach for the next several months.
Wow.
Things like that. But when it actually happens to you,
Yeah.
awareness is heightened.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
To say the least.
No, to say the least, yeah, and it changes. So we had this discussion on Tuesday in our tutorial that we did about the likelihood discussion, right? So we can sit and talk about what's the likelihood that you're going to experience an arc flash event.
Right.
Before that event, you probably were of the mindset that, well, it's never going to happen. I've been doing this, and hey, this just doesn't happen to me. But then after that personal event,
Yeah.
now the likelihood in your mind just went up.
Yeah.
And the importance and significance of that in all of your future decisions. Companies go through the same thing.
Yeah.
We all do, but that is just, thank
It was
God
a
you're here.
workmanship. It was a workmanship issue. I was going from building to building to building.
Yeah.
Just kind of putting together inline fuses, and the workmanship of the contractors that were doing the work, was, let's say, wavered as more buildings got under their belt,
Sure.
and at my expense.
Wow.
And so you know, that's just not something you ever think is going to happen to you.
Oh yeah, I know.
And certainly it did. And so anyway, I just wanted to pop by at the end of the show and
I'm glad you did.
share and say how much I appreciate you know, having this platform for me to share this and for you to share your, you know, other people that have popped by and tell you how much I love this show, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Thank you. Take care. Enjoy. James Mercer. This man here. This man. You are something else. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. There you go.
Chip, James.
Yeah, there you go. So James Mercer. This guy right here got me involved in the IEEE. It's a Texas.
The Central Texas section.
Central Texas section, but you guys call yourself something different, don't you?
The chapter is pi square.
Pi squared. Yes.
Originally, it was just the 4 chapters.
Yes.
Power and energy, industry application, power electronics, industrial electronics, and PIPI for pi square.
Pi squared. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So this guy, I'll tell you, Tara, I'm in my house, and I get a phone call from this James, right? James says, "Hey Tom, I'd love you to come down to Texas and do a program on code changes, a 2-day program," right? And then he says, "I'm coming to your house." He drove from Texas. Okay, he says, "I'm in Ohio." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, he drives everywhere." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And I'm like, don't come any further. I'll meet you in Columbus." And I drove to Columbus, and we had dinner, and your son was out there, right?
Right, he rode with me. We met halfway at that time.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So how do you say no to a guy who drove from Texas and he had the I'm like, "Come on." So then he just recently asked me and Nihad to do a program down in Columbia.
Yeah.
Columbia. We're going to do an electrical safety workshop in Columbia. You're presenting too. Yeah, he's presenting, and we're gonna. We're yes. And I tell you what, it's people like this that make the electrical industry what it is. And the knowledge that you share, and the stories, and what was your thing is the grounding and bonding in substations? Is that what it is?
No, U for ground.
U for grounds, yes. He did. Oh, he has a wealth of knowledge on U for grounds.
Because I'm a civil engineer by degree, master electrician by trade, so my practice is both electrical and civil. So being a civil, I know what the civils are expecting, and then I know what the electricals are expecting, so I kind of act as an interface between them.
Absolutely.
So I've offered to do the same presentation to the civil engineers to explain, here's what the electrical expect. No, it won't blow up your foundation. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So did you drive here?
Of course.
Oh my goodness.
Same truck you were in with the rear window got shot out.
That's the truth. Oh, and we're driving in Texas, so we're going to dinner, and the whole back window goes boom. And I said, "Who's attacking you?"
He's crawling down to the front seat. What happens? A little crack in the window, and I heard the glass tick, 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 and then when it went, boom! There's a football-sized hole.
It was amazing. It was absolutely insane on how, and I thought somebody was shooting at the truck. It was amazing. Wow. But yeah. So so how many? You guys now the IEEE chapter, your Pi Squared group. You meet how often?
We meet monthly, except for November, December.
And it's in not Austin.
Yeah,
Austin, yes.
Yeah, we meet in Austin on the 4th Tuesday. We have a very dynamic chapter, and I'm very proud of that.
Yes, I love that chapter. I know I get down every 3 years. We did the code changes, 2 days of code changes, and absolutely phenomenal. A lot of good questions, a lot of great people. It's just amazing.
Which reminds me, while I'm sitting here, besides Bogota, I may be putting a bite on you for October, another code change class.
October is going to be a little tough because the second draft meetings for the National Electrical Code, so that's 2 weeks out of October. So depending upon when it is, we can probably accommodate that.
It'll be whenever you're available.
Yeah, well, then I think we can probably make it happen in
Okay.
October. Look at that, I'm getting, yeah, see, you know, how can you say, this guy is awesome. So how do I say no on a live stream to say, oh no, I can't make it, right? I tried. I said, oh, well, you know, 2 weeks of that is going to be code panel. When do you need it? He says, when you're available.
What can I say?
I love it. I love it. Great
Tom,
individual.
it's great seeing you again, buddy.
Oh, I love you, brother. You know that.
By the way, the hotel they got picked out for us in Bogota,
Yeah.
you will love.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, don't tell my
By
boss.
the way, I hope you can afford $30 a night.
$30 a night?
But it is a resort place.
$30 a night.
Yeah.
Bogota, Colombia. I'm going to see Felix Sandoval. You better be coming to Bogota, Colombia, because we have not met yet, and that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I am
Alright.
absolutely looking forward to it.
See you there, buddy.
I'll see you there. Thank you, James. You are the
Thank you,
man.
Thomas.
There you go. Perfect. What are the chances of that? We got a lot of good interviews. This guy, I tell you. Yeah, you didn't pull a Willie Nelson? What's that? I don't know if I'm going to ask.
He was in a recording session at some bar, and he stopped to go to the restroom.
Oh, and you took.
No one unmiked him.
No one unmiked him, and he was in the restroom. That's not good.
And, yes, he did wash his hands.
Oh, no.
Comes out and he says, really? Your mic was live the whole time.
Oh,
He says,
no.
You should have told me. I would have whistled whiskey.
Whiskey River. Oh my goodness! I tell you what, this show is hopping, and we're having a blast in the show. So listen, we're going to close down. It has been, I don't know what time it is. It's almost 6 o'clock here, which is 6, 7, 8 o'clock Eastern. This program, it's 5:45. So all of this video will be available forever. It's going to be on the channel. I'll keep resharing it. And what I plan to do is cut individual items and bring these, try to take some of the snapshots and maybe condense them. So stay tuned for more about the Electrical Safety Workshop moving forward. So thanks everybody if you're watching this for the first time, if you were live with me, thank you for what you do for the electrical industry. Thanks for what you do for electrical safety. Remember to stay safe and please stay healthy. See you maybe tomorrow. So